2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Yo, what's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn, and it's the C3 Panthers Podcast. Tonight's show, Carolina Rhules. It's a giant show tonight as the Panthers announce they are hiring Matt Rhule. We've got a packed show, including 2 special guests. To kick off the show, we've got National College Football writer Chris Hummer joining us, who has studied Rhule's time at Temple and Baylor extensively. And later on in the show, we've got WFNZ's Kyle Bailey, host of the Clubhouse, who has been trumpeting Rhule's name all throughout the last couple of weeks. And we've also got our ear to the ground when it comes to Panther Nation. The cat calls have been flying in tonight, and if you want your voice heard, you can call into the show at 252-228-5098. Go ahead, smash the thumbs up button, subscribe to the show, hit that little bell so you don't miss any of the content of the #1 Panthers podcast out there. We're live Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. on YouTube and syndicated on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And guys, we're in the house today. We've got the whole crew up in here. Cody Lashney, what's up, my friend?
Tony Dunn, listen, the football gods have smiled upon us. Ron Rivera was fired on a Tuesday, and Matt Rhule has been hired to be the next coach of the Carolina Panthers on a Tuesday. You can't write this, man. The football gods love the C3 Carolina Cat Chronicles podcast, and as always, we have the most lit Panther fans in the YouTube chat. God of Blackness, Josh from Mass, Underground West, Brad Duggan, all the 3, Alex Stark, Tony Dunn. We have a huge show tonight, brother. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let's roll.
CK is in the house. What's up, brother?
You know, living the dream, man. Living the dream. Got off a little early tonight. Wanted to get some research done up on our boy, you know, I'm thrilled, man. Super thrilled. New era. You know, you got a fresh taste in your mouth and got something to be excited about. Some brand new. A brand new world and just a lot of unknowns that come along with it, but I'm excited to see what it brings.
Stat Daddy's here too. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. I'm not quite as optimistic as y'all, but hopefully y'all are going to turn me around in this podcast and find out what's going on. I know with a name like Rhule, you can make a lot of fun puns.
I've already begun. All right, let's go ahead and jump in the show. We're going to hit segment 1 and Chris Hummer in 2 seconds. I just want to say this for people I haven't heard, and you've been living under a rock in Panther Nation. Panthers hire former Baylor coach Matt Rhule. He's known for turning around programs such as Baylor and Temple. He was an assistant coach with the Giants at one point, and he's really interested in sports innovation, and he also makes a lot of money now. 7 years, $60 million, and that doesn't sound like a willy-nilly contract. And to help us understand this hire, we've brought in National College Football writer Chris Hummer from 24/7 Sports, who has studied and written extensively about Matt Rhule. Welcome to the C3 Podcast, Chris.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for me on.
Man, I ran across your story, and It finally was a story I needed that made me think that analytics could be more than a buzzword, but a philosophical. Well, I won't say I was that off put by the word, but a true philosophy on how to build just a theory, like the theoretical approach to the game. Your article was framed around, it's titled, "Behold, the Analytics Revolution. If you're going to miss fast." What are your initial thoughts on Matt Rhule to the NFL and to the Carolina Panthers?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an excellent hire. I won't pretend to be as versed in the Carolina Panthers roster as y'all, but I'm pretty well versed in Matt Rhule. I live in Austin, Texas, about an hour away from Waco. I've spent some time around that program. I know how well respected he is, kind of not only in the college community, but in the scouting community at large. I remember pretty vividly being in a press box earlier this year and talking to NFL Scout, and he was just raving about Matt Rhule and how well prepared his teams always are. I think Matt Rhule has a lot of traits that translate well to the league, and some of them kind of might not be what you expect, but he's a program builder, and not only that, he's a proven developer of talent, and ultimately I think that's going to allow him to be successful.
Your article is framed around this storyline of Temple versus the Goliath of Penn State. You talk about how Rhule's time in Temple was one trying to find a way to topple this giant. And then you followed this perspective to Baylor. And here's a quote that first stood out to me from your story. And it's from Matt Rhule. He says, "If they take a top 50 recruit, I need to take someone who isn't highly recruited. And so I better take someone with these skills and develop them. When player after player left Temple for the NFL, they could all run. They were all big. And it made sense, that approach, to survive at Temple. Then when we came to Baylor, where you can get top recruits, he said, hey, let's keep the same approach. It works well for us and is starting to pay dividends." That philosophy, will it translate to the NFL, you believe?
Yeah, probably not in the way people expect. I think people think the talent is super even in the NFL, and kind of that philosophy might get washed out a little bit, where there's not kind of the fringes to kind of take advantage of unheralded prospects through scouting and kind of your evaluations. But I would argue strongly that you still have to develop to win in the NFL. Bill Belichick's probably a great example of that. He's always been a guy that's lived on kind of the undrafted free agents and kind of recycling players who were considered busts throughout the league, and he's developed them over time, kind of taken players who fit his framework for his system, kind of the guys that fit perfectly who may not have excelled so well in another position. And Matt Rhule, kind of time after time, going back to Temple and at Baylor as well, has kind of showed that ability to kind of identify those guys and then mold the players for what he needs them to do. And a lot of the times he's always going to target like elite athletes in order to kind of narrow that gap between Baylor and Temple and everybody else. And in the NFL, where everybody already is pretty even, I think his ability to kind of find those guys at the margin is still really going to help him in those situations.
Chris, this is Cody Lashley. I'm one of the co-hosts on the show. Thanks for joining us tonight, man. One of the questions that I have for you is, what do you think is going to be the biggest area of concern for Matt Rhule transitioning from the college to the pro level? I know in your article you mentioned, he really puts a premium on speed, length, size, and explosiveness. Do you have any insights or ideas on what he's going to value in trying to help build this Carolina Panthers roster, and what changes he's going to have to make in his own style in moving from college to the pros?
Well, I mean, he's going to value athletes above all else, but I mean, that kind of formula changes a little bit when you get to the league, as I said. But I think he's gonna find guys kind of that are undervalued in the league, as he did at Baylor and as he did at Temple, and kind of fit his system around them. Matt Rhule has been a guy who's run multiple schemes throughout his career, coached with multiple coordinators. He's always kind of made it work. And I think those philosophies are going to kind of apply no matter what. In terms of what he needs to learn to do, his stint in the NFL was super brief. He was with the New York Giants for a year as an assistant offensive line coach. So there is going to be, I would imagine, an adjustment period for him as he kind of gets used to kind of the scouting community, the scouting process in the NFL, the draft process, the free agency process, process and all those things that work into it. That's just going to be a learning curve.
So one of the things, or one of the names rather, that have been tied to Matt Rhule is Phil Snow. And a lot of people are starting to think that maybe Phil Snow might end up coming to be the defensive coordinator here. Are you hearing anything about Phil maybe even stepping up to be the head coach of Baylor, or do you feel that he's probably going to come to Charlotte with Matt Rhule?
I can't say he's coming to come to Charlotte with Matt Rhule, but he's been with Matt Rhule for much of his career, and it wouldn't surprise me. I think early on, Baylor is looking at another coach on that staff, Joey McGuire, to potentially fill that role along with a number of outside candidates. That'll be a popular job. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But in terms of Phil Snow, if he does come to the NFL, I think a lot of what he does is going to apply well. In a lot of ways, Phil Snow is kind of Matt Rhule's mentor. In this sport, Matt Rhule adopted a lot of his analytical thought processes from Phil Snow based on their time together at UCLA. Phil Snow used to stress testing data when he took DBs, and he was the defensive coordinator there. So they've really been linked for a long time. And I think in this era of kind of spread offenses and some of the air raid principles that have percolated over to the league, Phil Snow is in some ways uniquely equipped if he was to join the Panthers to kind of attack some of those things, especially with kind of the 3-man front and multiple safeties looks he's used throughout his tenure at Baylor. He's kind of found a way to kind of attack those offenses in space.
Hey there, this is CK. So as a Panthers nation, I guess, one of the most electric human beings on our team to ever exist outside of Steve Smith has been Cam Newton, one of the most divisive as far as opinions among our fan base. When you think about Matt Rhule and the philosophies he I guess wants to really follow, do you feel Cam Newton fits into that mold that he's looking for the undervalued and the athletic and obviously when you think about the numbers that he's going to be working with, where does Cam Newton fit into this? And if he doesn't, what do you feel like would be the next best option? Is in the draft, or is there a free agent that you may not be aware of any of the free agents, but what do you think based on what you know about Cam Newton?
I mean, I know Cam Newton was one of the most dominant college players I've ever seen. His season at Auburn, I believe in 2011, ranks probably in the top 5 ever. And I also know that he was an MVP not too long ago. If he's healthy, I certainly think he's a piece that Matt Rhule will employ well. He is one of those players that is remarkably unique. He is a special talent in that aspect. I know there have been some concerns over his accuracy and his injury history over the years. But if you have a fully healthy Cam Newton, I'm willing to bet Matt Rhule will find a way to make it work. And he's had mobile quarterbacks in the past. And he's designed systems around quarterbacks who don't necessarily have the strongest arms. I know that's not Cam's problem. And around quarterbacks,
well, we don't know yet. We haven't seen the deep ball in a long time, so we'll see after this. We get him back healthy. But yeah, absolutely.
CK, you sound like you hit a whippet, yeah.
No, that's true. I mean, he's been sitting he was on my fantasy bench all year, not doing much because of his shoulder injury. So I understand that. But yeah, I think Matt Rhule, if Cam Newton is healthy, Cam's a special talent, and he'll find a way to make it work. If just knowing what I know about college football, though, if Cam Newton doesn't work this year, 2021 is setting up to be one of the most special quarterback draft classes in a long time. I don't know if Carolina's going to go the tanking route or design the roster around that, but I would imagine a rebuild's a possibility given the kind of tenure they've given Matt Rhule. And if you can get Trevor Lawrence or you can get Justin Fields in that draft class, you're going to be in pretty good shape.
Oh, his ears just perked up. Cody's ears.
Yeah, listen, man. I'm a huge Clemson fan, so you don't have to tell me about Trevor Lawrence. We a lot of people already have their eyes on him. But go ahead, Greg.
Hey, what's going on, man? This is Greg. I'm another guy who likes to talk with these guys on the show. And I was reading the article, man, and I was, I noticed you focused a lot about football tracking, and then you spoke a lot about speed. And one line that kind of stood out to me was when you were talking about the wide receivers, about some coaches preferring change of direction and fluidity receiver, but Rhule is straight speed. So with that kind of mindset, looking at the fact that we have DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, who are real big speedsters, and then Christian McCaffrey, who can pretty much do anything you want to on the field, what do you think he could do with these weapons if he has, the opportunity to really, really make them flourish, because we've been kind of conservative with these players over the last few years, and I feel like we haven't really had the opportunity to let these guys flourish. And
Yeah,
use
maybe
those
speak
speed
on his
skills.
offense a little too. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, his offense has traditionally, it's like a spread. It's like a traditional Big 12 spread. He was a power guy when he was at Temple. They were a pro style offense, but when he came to the Big 12, he kind of adopted a lot of the principles there. He still had a running base. I believe they were a 50-50 split team run pass for most of the year. And he does, I think the speed comment comes in based on the fact that you can't teach it. Like, that's one of those skills that's just like innate. And he feels like he can develop receivers on the college level.
Okay.
So I don't know how well that applies to the NFL, but he has always preferred fast players. So I would imagine stretching the field will be a priority. I remember watching a guy like DJ Moore at Maryland, and I know he can certainly take the top off of defense. And Matt Rhule will not waste that ability. He will take shots if the options are there and he has a quarterback that can deliver the ball.
I want to go back to your comments about how you believe that he can help he can identify and maybe even get more out of some players based on some of the smaller, I guess, analytical looks at these things. Like you mentioned, kind of the old football hats, the idea is that everybody's fast. And it's true. Offensive linemen are faster than half of the team, a college team. You know, you can see, whenever you see a college player who looks fast on tape, I'm always a little wary because I know that half the guys on the squad are not fast. So it makes them look faster. But the idea, so like you said, this could be washed out potentially, where that's the fear. But when it comes down every year, we've been doing this weekly show for 7 years, and we cover training camp extensively. We have to come up with content in the off season, and we know who the top 40 guys on the team are. It comes down to the last 13 spots, and even less than that. And how do you get the most out of your players? Do you believe that that's undervalued a little bit in the NFL?
I mean, I certainly think it is. I think what we've seen is the best team in the last 20 years hasn't really had a lot of high-end players. They've had a lot of guys making between $2 and $5 million a year. And there's a reason for that. It's because there's value to be found on the fringes where people don't explore it. And when you were talking about like the athletic testing data, like, are y'all familiar with like Z-scores and stuff in the NFL draft?
Say it one more time. Z-scores?
Z-scores. Essentially, it measures like how athletic a player is compared to his peers.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned it in your article that like Alabama had 3.6. That it's a 1 to 5 scale, correct?
That's a little different. That was Tracking Football, which is a subscriber-based company for college teams. But Z-score is just kind of a measure of NFL
like a
combine
composite
data.
score, like a composite score where they put that weird spider graph up or something like that.
Yeah, essentially. But like, that's like an analytical tool that shows how athletic a person is compared to others. And even in the NFL, there is a difference between the most athletic people and the kind of least athletic people. For example, Miles Boykin, the wide receiver from Notre Dame last class, had a 99.9 percentile Z-score, whereas Deebo Samuel, who had a pretty good rookie season, had a 76.3. So it kind of shows you the differences there. And I think Matt Rhule will embrace all of those ideas and all of that data to kind of make his decisions come draft time. And that can be the difference on special teams if your guy getting there half a second kind of before the punt returner does, or kind of getting there and punt block formation. I don't know. But like they're like those little things matter, and I think Matt Rhule will kind of attempt to utilize all of those tools at his disposal.
All right, we're almost done. We'll get you out of here in just a moment. The one thing is we continue to look at, and like I was kind of referring to as analytics, as it's kind of a buzzword. Look, I'm a professor at a community college. I work at a big institution, and you always hear certain words, you know, whether it be buy-in or whatever, whatever someone is trying to, it's just kind of the talk, right? And I feel like people throw around the term analytics a lot as kind of this buzzword. But one of the things as I looked at the progression of Matt Rhule from Temple to Baylor is that I don't think he lets analytics make his decision, but inform his decisions. Do you think that that there's he can avoid being trapped by that a little bit. And what I mean by that is the kind of idea that, well, DK Metcalf can't run a good 3-cone whatever, so he's going to suck in the NFL, and he's balling ass right now. Can he resist being overly handcuffed by that analytic chart?
I mean, I certainly think so. I think, at least for most good coaches, analytics is a guide. It's not kind of the thing. I mean, situationally, like going forward on 4th down, I can strongly see an argument for following the chart. But in most cases, from a scouting perspective, ultimately it's going to come down to what they put on film. I don't think Matt Rhule's ever going to get too enamored with a prospect to the point where he's going to take somebody who's an absolute project on his 53-man roster, maybe on the practice squad. I think you'll see Matt Rhule kind of stash some of those guys that'll become popular players in the NFL. But yeah, he's gonna take players who make some from tape, and he's even got a philosophy where he's not gonna take players at quarterback, at running back, and at linebacker on testing scores alone. Like, he knows he has to put his eyes on those guys, positions that are not necessarily conducive to just go basing off the testing scores. So I really do think Matt Rhule's going to do an excellent job. It might not be immediate. Sometimes it takes a while to turn a program around or turn an NFL team around, but we've seen him take over 2 programs that were bottom of the barrel and the FBS, especially Baylor, which was an absolute mess when he inherited, and he turned it around. And I think a lot of his philosophies are going to apply well in the NFL.
So, Chris, I have a question for you, and also information that I want to give to our viewers. I mean, people really are correct when they say that Matt Rhule, out of all the head coaching candidates that have had their names spread around for all these different vacancies, Matt Rhule really is well-rounded. And in his career, Matt Rhule has been the coach of the defensive line, the offensive line, the linebackers, special teams, quarterbacks, tight ends, run game coordinator, and offensive coordinator. I mean, have you ever known any other coach to have that kind of resume? And how exactly did that happen for Matt Rhule, that he found himself in so many different coaching positions on a football team?
I think Matt Rhule made it a point early in his career to get exposed to as many things as possible. It's a smart thing as a coach. I think gurus are kind of the hot thing now, even in college football. You want the hot young offensive coordinator, but a lot of times program builders, guys who have experience coaching all positions, are the people who are going to elevate your program. Nick Saban was that way. Bill Belichick was that way. I know Nick Saban's got his kind of history with DBs, but he's coached a lot of positions in his career. Bill Belichick has it as well, and I think the best coaches can coach every position on the field, and Matt Rhule does have that ability, and I certainly think that aids him, not only kind of his ability to coach a team, but a level of respect from grown men. Like, if he can talk about their position on an intricate level, or at least instruct, that certainly helps aid kind of bridging the gap between college, where you could just tell a person what to do and they would do it, and the NFL, where a lot of the times your players are making more than you. Maybe not Matt Rhule, given his salary moving forward, but you know what I mean. Like, I think that is certainly an advantage for Rhule as he embarks on this NFL journey.
Yeah, well, last question for you is this, is that you, and it really kind of dovetails with that question, is how do you see his personality meshing with professional players? You know, he does refer to himself as a disciplinarian to a certain degree. I've always said that being what it takes in the NFL is being a good teacher, because these guys aren't as taught as people think. There's just always been successful athletes. So how do you think he will be able to manage that, his personality as a disciplinarian, as a teacher, as a preacher almost? I mean, I've seen him talk at a conference, a men's conference, not personally. I watch it on YouTube. And he's got that preacher vibe like his dad. How do you think that's going to resonate in an NFL locker room?
Well, I think as somebody who's sat down with him before, he is a very personable human. He comes across as a very normal guy. I think that certainly aids kind of in that transition to the NFL. Disciplinarian's fair. Like, he can be tough on players, especially early on in his regime. But I think he's also kind of got the resume and also kind of the chops as a teacher, as you said, to back up some of that pushing he'll do for the Carolina Panthers early on. So I think he's a guy who's going to relate well to people in the NFL. I've never met a person who dislikes Matt Rhule. he is just an infectious guy. Everybody thinks you think you're Matt Rhule's friend after about 5 minutes of talking to him, and that is a rare quality, I feel, in just humans in general. And I think that's going to aid Matt Rhule when he kind of goes to the NFL.
All right, well, fantastic, great stuff. Well, first of all, tell everybody how they can find your work.
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage everybody who's interested in college football to read 24/7 Sports. We've got it 24/7, 365 from recruiting to on-the-field news, and it's a great place to get all your college football news.
Hey, this is a last question out of left field. Do you have a prediction for that national championship game?
Oh, yeah. Probably I have to lean LSU, just like talking to people in this community. Yeah, they're just – I don't know how well Clemson safeties are going to match. Clay safeties and middle linebackers are going to match up with what LSU is going to do in the slot with guys like Justin Jefferson. So I think that'll make the difference.
I hear that sentiment echoed a lot, so I do not blame you for that prediction.
All
Yeah,
right, man.
It's LSU's explosive. It's fun to watch.
Fantastic. Chris Hummer, you can find him on Twitter at Chris_Hummer. Thank you a lot, Chris, for joining us, especially on short notice.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah.
Better one.
All right, guys. Man, look, we've got a major lineup tonight. We've just listened to Chris Hummer talk about Matt Rhule, and like he said, he sat down and met him before. And now we've got a ton to talk about. Kyle Bailey coming up later in the show. Your cat calls 252-228-5098. And I do want to just go ahead. It's time for us to react. You know what I'm saying? We had to start with a interview right away because of the way the timing worked. But I just want to, you guys aren't going to be able to see this. I know you've already seen it, but you will be able to hear it. This is David Tepper taking the call for when Matt Rhule agreed to the job. All right, and let me see. Hopefully it'll work.
We got a deal?
Yeah, we want to know.
All right, well, listen, I'm so freaking happy. Okay, I can't even tell you. I think we're going to have a great partnership, Matt.
Yes, sir.
All right, he kept it short and sweet.
Yeah.
But Tepper was ecstatic. I think he saw his guy. I think he flew down there. I don't know if he knew he was his guy right away, but on the way there. But I think Tepper was trying to show a seriousness by going there, going to Waco, meeting him personally. And this is Tepper's style. It's so Tepper's style to go in like this, make this a personable moment, and to make it one that's exciting. But I think that the businessman and David Tepper said, this is our guy. I'm not letting him get away from us. We're doing this today. Your initial thoughts, I'll give it to you, CK, first. Your initial thoughts on Matt Rhule as the coach of the Carolina Panthers and the news that's unfolded today.
You know, we had talked about it, pre-show. I think this was the least talked about as far as possibilities. And I think it had a lot to do with the stars were aligning for him to go to the Giants based on his history of being there during, some of the best years the Giants had. But, and what I think is most interesting is how we've gotten him. I think it's the most Tepper way for it to possibly happen, which is, as you mentioned, he's not going to wait, right? What I think happened, and I mentioned on Thursday when we had the show on Thursday because of the New Year, that I didn't see Tepper being the type to wait, like bird in the hand type of guy, instead of waiting for something else to come along. Well, he started to see Mike McCarthy get hired. He started to see the writing on the wall with Matt Rhule going up to the Giants. And so I think he started to feel the reason for him letting Ron Rivera go early, not only giving Ron a competitive advantage, but also trying to give ourselves a competitive advantage, was not actually working out if he let all these coaches go to the places they wanted to go to. So I think that was awesome. I will say, based on the guest that we had, Chris, and the actual article, when you read the style of athleticism and speed, is Carolina not his wet dream?
Sounds like
I don't know, but it is after listening to you.
Your voice is
Hey,
my wet dream,
CK,
man.
say you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
I don't know if you know, but you have like a voice changer going, man. You sounded very, very white all of a sudden. Man.
Yeah, what did you change? Did you change the setting?
No, I just
Since
I
we
think I
started?
might, no, it might be the actual mic itself. I turned the gain up a little bit.
No, it was not like this when we started. You're gonna have to leave and come back because here, first of all, it's awesome. It sounds like you just hit a whippet. Second of all,
awesome, yeah. That's why we're all sitting here laughing.
Okay.
we've all had the
awesome,
giggles
man.
here. Josh from Mass said this. Will you say please say rubber dub dub?
Rub-a-dub-dub.
And he also said that CK's got to change his handle to Vanilla Thunder. So leave and come back. It didn't sound bad. It's just very pronounced.
Good. Yeah.
It's
All right.
pronounced.
That was your real voice.
All right,
It
let's-
definitely be radio.
Let's pass the mic over to Cody Lashney. Thoughts on the Matt Rhule hire?
So listen, I feel like out of all the names that we've mentioned on the show, Matt Rhule's kind of the guy that we didn't talk about enough. You know, we've been talking about Eric Bieniemy and Kevin Stefanski, and I felt like we all kind of thought, due to David Tepper's comments, I mean, it's not like we were just guessing.
He
but
threw
we
us
had
off the trail. He threw us off the trail.
had no reason to believe that we were going to go and hire a college coach. But that's exactly what we did. And if we were going to hire a college coach, you know, now knowing that Lincoln Riley and those defenses are always so bad at Oklahoma and seeing how good the defenses have been for Baylor and Temple while Matt Rhule was there and how versatile he is being able to coach all these different positions. I'm a fan. I'm a real fan of the move, and I love that David Tepper got the man that he wanted for the job. And it kind of says to me that, you know, you signed him to 7 years. So you're telling him, well, we're not just going to move on from you after a bad season. So in my mind, it's
Cody, who did you say at one point a couple of weeks ago, maybe even 2 months ago, you said, it wasn't that long, it was about a month ago, you said, do this for Lincoln Riley, and this is what you would do. And we were talking before the show, and that's what they did for Matt Rhule. Tell them what I mean.
Yeah, that's 100% what they did for Matt Rhule. So essentially, they gave him long enough of a leash to say to him, listen, you know, our quarterback situation is what it is. But he now has enough leeway to be able to, you know, see everything that he has from Cam Newton, run Cam Newton out there. If he's healthy, then he's your franchise. If for whatever reason it doesn't work out or Matt Rhule wants to move in a different direction, next year isn't his job. He's not playing for his job because David Tepper just signed him to a 7-year deal, and he doesn't want to be the Browns where they're hiring another coach every year. So Matt Rhule, coming from college, as our guest said, the ability to transition from a pro-style offense to a run-pass option offense, it means he's versatile enough to use the talent that he has and put them in the best positions to win football. So I'm happy with this. I'm loving the move right now, and I want to, you know, see what Matt Rhule is capable of doing. It came out of left field. I wasn't expecting Matt Rhule to be the hire, but I'm happy that it is.
Before we move on, mad love to Ross Gould with a $10 super chat. He says this, first of all, I love the hire. I'm very optimistic. Rhule is a player's coach, adored by his players, coach mostly 3 stars, and still beat teams with mostly 5 stars. Excited to see what he does in the NFL. Thank you, Ross Gould. I'm excited and optimistic as well, more than I thought I would be, and I know more than I would have been had this been the Minnesota offensive coordinator Stefanski or the Bieniemy. I had some reservations about that. I also want to give mad love to RT1981, who says the reason he doesn't watch the national media anymore is because there's no need with podcasts like this where he can get his Panthers fix. So we appreciate your support. Go ahead, smash the thumbs up button. 350 in the house, Tree 50 in the house, and he does what he does best, Tree 50. Matt Rhule seems to be a football whisperer. So let's go ahead and douse some water on the fire. Go ahead, Stat Daddy.
To be honest with you,
You just call him a wet blanket, essentially?
yeah.
Well, somebody said a wet dream. Somebody said a wet dream, and now we're at wet blanket.
There you go. One begets the other. So, I don't really know a lot about Matt Rhule. I know what I've read today and what you guys have told me. Looking up information, it looks like he's gonna be good to go. It seems like David Tepper was really excited about the situation, and I think he has a pretty good head on his shoulders about making decisions on things like this, even though I'm sure he's missed a few times in his life. Hoping he doesn't right now. I just can't get excited for it. I can't be as excited for it as everybody else, or as much as y'all are at least, because I'm skeptical. I'm optimistic, but I'm skeptical because the transition from college to pros majority of the times does not work out for the best. You have a few outliers, but it's just a totally different game. It's like Chris was saying earlier, when you're in college, you have a guy that's a standout because he's faster than everybody else on the team. But then when you get to the pros, you realize he's just
everybody's fast.
Everybody on the team.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's fast. So there is some concern there.
Big transition. Yeah. But I mean, other than that, man, I really don't know. It is what it is. We have this guy. I'm interested to see his management decisions going forward to this offseason on free agents, the direction he takes his team with the draft, what he does with Cam Newton. That's what I'm more concerned with right now because I know nothing else about the guy. So that'll give me a better idea of how much I'm going to like him. It is based on what he does in the future.
I'll tell you. And do I sound better, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
well, no, because you did sound fucking awesome.
You did sound awesome.
Yeah.
I was wondering how long we were going to let you go without saying anything.
When y'all started chuckling, I'm like, I guess it's funny. I don't know. But your question about him being able to transition to the NFL, from the college game, well, I agree because everybody is a better athlete in the NFL. But I also disagree because the NFL is transitioning to a more college-friendly type of a game, and I think that is where Matt, will allow us the ability to maybe compete in the new NFL that is, running more college-like offenses such as Baltimore. So I mean, I'm thrilled with it. Like I said, I really do think that when you think about the speed, the Panthers with Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, now on the defense, you go over to Dante Jackson. We have a lot of speed, and I think that's something that can be attractive to a guy like Matt Rhule.
Yeah. Well, while I see your point, and I kind of agree with you on that to a certain extent. I mean, the way I'm kind of looking at it with that is you're right. It is that the pros are transitioning more to like a college-style offense, like a more spread, faster style movement. But the players overall are still definitively better and still faster. So It doesn't really matter which scheme you're running. The players are going to be faster and better. So he may be more familiar with an offense like that because it's moving towards a college-style offense, but it's still going to be against better competition.
I'd be more worried if he didn't have a history in the NFL. Here's what you look at. That's why he was going to go to the Giants. He had a connection with them.
Right.
But here's what's funny. We've all. I'm assuming we've all listened to Tom Coughlin telling WFNZ about what type of a coach we have. Matt Rhule is now going to have a mentor in Tom Coughlin. I know that may not excite a lot of people, but he knows how to coach in the NFL. He knows how to handle this stuff, right? And yeah, he may not have done well down in Jacksonville in the front office. And he was on the latter part of his career with the Giants, but I think Matt Rhule can now take what was the best parts of Tom Coughlin and then what was the best part of him in college. And I think there's an opportunity for us to see something that we haven't really had in the Carolinas, which is somebody who doesn't focus because one way or another, with his well-rounded aspect of things, he is going to be a coach, a leader above all else, use statistics to kind of dictate where he goes with this team, and then let the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator run the game plan that they've actually installed throughout the week. So I think that is the part of it that is that's going to allow us to maybe prosper, because we're not so focused one way or another. Like Ron Rivera, and I'll let somebody else take the reins after this. Ron Rivera, being that he was defensive minded, he wanted to keep his defense off the field, so we just ran, right?
No.
And so that when you don't have somebody who's one-sided, one side or the other, I think you get the best of both worlds. Hopefully it's not a hybrid type situation like we had with Ron Rivera's 4-3-3-4 defense, where we were like, oh, you get the best of both worlds, but that didn't work out very well. But we'll see. I'm excited. I think there's a lot of positives to take away from it, especially when you look at the history he's had of just constant success.
Okay.
Well, here's how I stand on this. Let me change
I can
my
just
mind.
talk like this if you like.
Real quick, Greg, I know you had a point you wanted to make real quick, but I did want to kind of bolster what you were saying, and that you did have some credence to what you were saying. There's only been 2 coaches that have really come from college to the NFL that have been successful, and that's been Jim Harbaugh and I guess Chip Kelly. And
No, I wouldn't even say that.
and a lot of people.
But he's the
Right,
only person
a lot
that
of
even
people-
had one success, because you know who says this all the time, Cody, is Peter King, and he keeps saying, and there's only 2 coaches in the last 20 years, excluding Pete Carroll and Tom
Pete Carroll.
Coughlin,
Yeah, but
because
Right,
he deemed them as college coaches, as professional coaches who went to college and then came back.
came back. Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, there is something to that.
Well, it is, but here's my point. It is.
It was
kind of the
such a
same thing,
minor
though.
role in the pros, I think, for
Right.
so short.
Like, let's look at. That's what I wanted to bring up. Let's look at Rhule's pro experience. He 1 year in New York in the Giants, or with the Giants, as an assistant to the offensive line coach. And that was his pro experience. So, I mean, if we really, if we, I'm always going to say it like that. If we really want to consider that some serious NFL experience, I mean, granted, I know it's more than I've ever had or will ever have, but that is an assistant to a positional coach for 1 year, and the team went 9-7 that year. So it's not like they were lights out that year. I mean, for me, that's just not a lot of pro experience. That's almost enough where you can't really. That's like saying I went to college for two semesters, and I was, a college, I'm a college student.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, for me, it's just a little, I don't know.
Or taking a class and saying you're a college student.
Right. Yeah.
One of the things that I will say though is, there's now I feel like if we continue to say, well, other college coaches haven't had a lot of success in the past, now we're kind of just going off of superstition. And I understand you might think that, well, if other coaches had a hard time transitioning, well, there's probably a reason for it. But
Analytics, bro.
And Cody does not believe in superstition. Cody
But
does
that's
not
not
believe you
superstition,
should
that's
not
fact.
draft USC receivers because they've been trash in the history. Don't
don't
be
believe-
paralyzed by your superstitions is Cody's message.
That's track
Right.
record, though. That's not
all that,
superstition.
when you're walking down the sidewalk, don't step on a crack, break your mama's back. I'm not into that. But what I will say, and I think that CK had a good point, is that the college and NFL style of football, they're starting to look more and more like each other every day. So the fact
Guys
that
are coming out earlier.
right.
That's another thing is, and keep going. Sorry to interrupt. Keep
Well,
going.
yeah, no, I mean that was pretty much it. Is just the type of, I mean, we all know that David Tepper's big on analytics, and now Matt Rhule has said he wanted to have a lot of sports science stuff invested into the Carolina Panthers, which I love. That means healthier players, better strength and conditioning program. There's just a lot of benefits that comes along with Matt Rhule, the coach, that is independent of him just being a college football coach.
The chat room is bringing it strong. Ross Gould with a $5 super chat. The knock on college coaches is they can't always have superior talent in the NFL. Rule 1 with inferior talent. Not a typical college coach. Not like Nick Saban, who is playing, boys with a bunch of men out there.
He's ranked number 1 in his draft class every year, 8 out of the last 9 years. Right? Isn't that what that article said? Isn't that what that article said?
Yeah, Saban gets to play. He gets to go play monster trucks with other people who are playing Matchbox cars.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, I want to put my position out here. Last week you heard me get a little gushy about Mike McCarthy.
Yep.
Right? And I like this idea that he was studying, he was trying to be all thoughtful. But really what I liked the most was his previous experience, and that is as a head coach.
Yep.
And it's not even just being a successful head coach. It's just having leadership qualities. So while we speak about the weaknesses potentially of a college coach coming to the NFL, those are true, right? It's a different ball game. There's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some adjustments that he's going to have to make. But what we fail to realize is that while that is a weakness on one hand, if we look at these other people like the Stefanski guy from Vikings or Bieniemy from Kansas City, or if you want to say Saleh from the 49ers, there's also a risk on that side. While they have professional experience and they have been involved in professional football, they haven't necessarily been in management roles, or at least the top of the food chain, the CEO, the director of the team, being able to see the big picture or being the leader of the big picture. And so I think that while there might be weaknesses potentially, or that there's a strength that comes with a guy who is able to orchestrate continuous success from Temple to Baylor and now to Carolina. I got to tell you guys is that I think I'm a little swept up in the moment. I will say that, is that I'm all roses, like I'm in love with this moment. But I think this is the name, other than maybe Lincoln Riley, just because of my personal affiliation, affinity for him. This name is more exciting to me, or more intriguing. It has a higher ceiling to me than a guy like Bieniemy, Stefanski, Josh McDaniels. I love this move right here because it seems like when Tepper dropped the 7-year contract, he said, I believe you got what it takes. I see this talent in you. You're going to come here and we're going to do great things together.
Yeah, and look, like I said, I mean, if you listen to all the David Tepper interviews and what you said up until this point about what kind of player or what kind of coach rather that he's looking for, someone that's old school football, but is also, wanting to do and implement these new innovative processes into the football team. I mean, really, I cannot think of a better coach than Matt Rhule. And I know people have been, if we hire an offensive guy, then maybe that means he doesn't quite know how to field the best defense, or maybe he doesn't quite know the best defensive coordinators to put in place, or vice versa if it's a defensive coach. But I think Matt Rhule, having such a versatile background from coaching linebackers to quarterbacks, I mean, this guy can give advice to Luke Kuechly and Cam Newton on the same day, and it could help them. You know what I mean?
Think, how many times, Cody, on this podcast have I said that being a coach is part being a great teacher, right? And that was my concern with Ron Rivera and some of these guys, particularly after the Super Bowl. But I heard Ron Rivera say things like this. We've taught these guys that they've learned, they know, he just presupposes that, I showed them this, so they should know it. And as a teacher, someone who's in a classroom all day long with people who are very smart and intelligent, but also have human tendencies, I know that there is a art to teaching, to getting people engaged, to getting people not to just recognize things, but to understand things. And that is where I'm so excited about this, is I think that when you listen to Matt Rhule, he's got a commanding personality. He seems to be about all in on football. But if you hear him talk, I just want to encourage everybody, and I want to give a shout out to Pat Coltrane, because that's how I wrote across this video. There is a video online of Matt Rhule giving a talk at at a church, at a men's Christian conference. We've all been to these type of events where it's like men talking about how to be men in this era or whatever. And the name of this topic was Man Up, and he comes in there and he talks about, his relationship with Christ. And, he's a preacher's son and all of this. But look, he was a preacher, a teacher, a man, all in this moment. And I was ready to run through a damn wall for the dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is definitely a great motivational speaker.
Mm-hmm. Well, which I think that, I think Ron had the ability behind closed doors to do that. But I don't think that, this guy, I think, has such incredible principles that I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've never heard a single person speak out negatively about him. And not that I heard anything about
No,
Ron
that's
like
that's what Chris Hummer was saying. And another thing I do want to mention too, when it comes to when you said, CK, about how the college game is meeting the pros now, there is then this attitude that college coaches don't know how to relate to professional players because they're adults, they make all this money.
I think that's right with a few. I don't see Matt Rhule being a part of that. I think he's probably the exception to that rule. But I would say absolutely that is going to be the case with not Lincoln Riley, but the other one who's been out of work for about a year, has controversy. I forgot his name, but that just rules with an iron fist, doesn't have respect for anybody or whatnot. But continue, Tony. My apologies.
Well, my thing though about that idea is two things. Is number one is that the players are getting younger in the NFL. We know. Look, you could see from the lesson. Look, there's lesson practice time in the pros. There's lessened practice time in college football. And there's less hitting. There's less pads, right? And so you hear pros all the time talking about, well, the reason people don't know how to tackle in the pros is because they didn't learn in college. So I think this is that being a teacher at the NFL level is actually becoming more important, not less important. Mm-hmm. And I think that his ability to understand how young people think and what motivates them, as well as being able to, like Cody said, speak to a Luke Kuechly, or like Chris Hummer also said during our interview, and speak of these guys in an intelligible, in a thoughtful way. And look, when you come into my classroom, look, the kids fucking hate the subject, right? We're talking American history. We're talking, going back to the Renaissance and how the Renaissance started the foundation for this. And there is a way to bring energy, convey excitement, authenticity, that people start to want to believe. And I think that Matt Rhule can bring that trait. And Cody, I'm going to turn the mic, or Greg, I'll turn the mic. Who's got the mic next? Who wants the mic?
I want to make one point. I want to make one point after you're finished, Tony.
And I was going to say my last point, yes, comes back to this, is that I think there's a very high ceiling on Matt Rhule. I don't know what the floor is. Gosh, obviously could be getting fired. But I was not convinced. I'm sorry. I just was not convinced about Eric Bieniemy and Stefanski. I get worried. I fell in love with, who was the former quarterbacks coach, Cody, from Eagles, who went to Minnesota and then is in Jacksonville as offensive coordinator. We were in love with him a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I know who you're.
We can't even remember his name. No, it wasn't.
But this is kind of my question, and really, like, all of us had that candidate, that guy that we weren't really that sold on. But did any of these guys have enough background to 100% sell you on anything?
No,
So, for
no.
example,
That's why I think I like this
Harbaugh
one.
did for me.
Yeah,
Harbaugh did
well-
for me.
Well, here's the thing.
okay.
All of them are coordinators, right? But the point that I wanted to make was, let's take Matt Rhule out of the equation, right? The next person on that list was going to be Josh McDaniels, right? Even the Giants had him on the short list as well. They even hired the wide receivers coach instead of Josh McDaniels.
What the
Which
hell? Gettleman.
What-
Gettleman
So
is
here's
like a fucking crazy man right now, dude.
well, they
Here's-
made a panic move, is what happened once
Oh,
we
yeah.
sold their guy away.
But they had McDaniels on a short list of people that were going to be hired possibly.
They
for
hadn't
the
even
Giants.
interviewed him yet.
I
How
know,
do you
but
not even?
But here's the
Good.
sorry, my fault. What I was going to
Okay.
say is here's the point that I wanted to make with Josh McDaniels. Does that not mean that he is planning on staying in New England? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the truth of the matter is, yes, this is a special team coach and a wide receiver coach. But the reality of the situation, the worst part of the New England Patriots team this year was the wide receiving core. Guaranteed, no questions
Yes,
asked. That was
I don't
the
even
worst
understand it. Also,
But they
Demetrius
said it
Miller
might-
on YouTube says it was DiFilippo, and that's exactly who
Yeah.
it was. Remember,
Yeah.
we were all in love with DiFilippo, and guess what?
Yeah.
He didn't know how to do shit. But you're exactly right. Cody said it's a panic move. CK, it's strange. Not only were the receivers the problem, but I mean, I guess my love changed from week to week of who I wanted. I had this other idea of Caserio and McDaniels coming together, but over the last 2 weeks, that offense has looked so bad. I'm like, gosh, I don't even know if I want McDaniels anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and even Stefanski's not. I mean, they're putting things together to some degree, but they haven't been a powerhouse. They're really benefiting from great offensive line play and a great running back in Dalvin Cook, and then having two number one wide receivers in Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, and then a really great tight end. I mean,
But
you
they
take all
just
of
got Thielen back, and if you look at
Yeah.
look at what's his name, the tight end's numbers, he hadn't been Rudolph. He's been terrible all year. I had him in fantasy.
yeah, he may not be putting up those numbers, but he is still one of the better tight ends in the league.
They haven't
so-
had a Rams offense from 2016 or whatever it was,
But
2017.
here's the deal, and I said this online on Twitter too. Like, even with Kevin Stefanski, look at the difference of the plays that he would be able to call with Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey than he has. And I'm not saying that Minnesota doesn't have a good roster, but I mean, really, like, you're talking about being limited with the type of quarterback play. A lot of different things kind of go into that factor. And I wanted to Panther Coon on our in our YouTube chat, and I've seen this floating around Twitter. People are using this to bash on Matt Rhule. This is a quote from Matt Rhule talking about Will Grier. I'm assuming this is some point when Will Grier was still at West Virginia. Matt Rhule said of Will is as pro-ready as anyone I've ever seen. No one made more calls on the line than him.
There you
Reminded
go.
me of Baker Mayfield the year before.
There
All
you
right,
go.
hold on. So again, it goes into that. What do you expect? So especially if you're preparing to play that football team,
You're not going to
like,
feed them.
what do you expect a coach to say? In my mind, this isn't an endorsement of him saying, "Oh, Will Grier is the best quarterback that he's
Yeah,
ever
like he's
seen."
not better than Cam Newton.
It just means that Will Grier was a good college quarterback.
This reminds
By
me
the
of when
way,
you
that
guys
was
gave
true
me
at the
shit
time.
about Todd Bowles. Remember where you guys gave me shit? First of all, I know everybody's gonna call in and give me shit about Todd Bowles coming, but you remember when Todd Bowles was on the conference call and he was like, "Kyle Allen's is harder to prepare for." Well, because there's no tape, and that's just the shit I think you say.
Right. People just, yeah.
Well, I want to bring up before we get too far away from this point where Cody was talking about the Giants making a panic move because we stole their guy.
Right.
Now,
Let's talk about this. It's a good topic.
Put this in perspective. We interviewed McCarthy twice.
Yep.
The Cowboys signed him yesterday, and today we signed Rhule. can't you really say the Panthers maybe made a panic move in the same way?
No, because I feel
Probably
that if we wanted McCarthy, I feel that he would have done exactly what he did with Matt Rhule and not let him leave the building. I mean, that's David Tepper's MO.
Okay.
Is there any concern with the Rooney Rule about this stuff? Is there any concern when it comes to? We're gonna interview Fuel tomorrow after we've already hired someone and say he's our minority candidate.
They're interviewing Fuel tomorrow.
Well, that was what the initial report was Monday. This was the schedule that Josh McDaniels was scheduled to interview with us today. And they said, hold our beer, we're hiring Matt Rhule. And then
same thing happened with the Giants.
But my question is how do we go ahead.
We already interviewed Eric Bieniemy. So
okay. All right. That's how
Eric off that list. And by the way, Perry Fuel, like none of us were ever under.
No, that's what you. But we thought it was a Rooney Rule thing. We thought it was a Rooney Rule thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and I would have been happy with Eric, but I understand. Listen, there were real, legitimate criticisms about every one of these dudes. And
I agree.
You even mentioned Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh has never won a championship in the NFL or college. So,
no, but he's been damn close in NFL. He's pretty good teams.
Yes, so is Rivera. So is McCarthy.
Rivera had one good team.
It leads to the point that all of these coaches have some kind of flaw that if you choose to put under a microscope will turn you on any one of them and cause you to think that they're not the guy for the job.
You're absolutely right, man. Real quick, CK, you're absolutely right, Cody. That's a good point. But when you look at a healthy Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey, that should be any coach's wet dream right there. Because if you can say what you want to about Cam Newton, but he's shown that he has the potential to be this in his best season, his MVP season. You could put that up against what I would consider probably the best quarterback ever, Tom Brady. His best season. And you might want to take Cam Newton's over that. I mean, they had the same amount of touchdowns, 16-0, 15-1, probably two of the greatest seasons ever constructed by a quarterback. I mean, this guy with Christian McCaffrey, that's a wet dream for any kind of coach. And I just, like I said, for me, I'm not mad about Rhule. I'm just not excited about it yet.
Who would you have preferred to have?
Harbaugh. That was who I wanted to go out.
That's it.
Okay. I know that, so I'm gonna pass it to CK, but let me just throw this out there before it goes, so that way maybe I can try and excite you about this a little more. All the rumors is that it was going to take a lot and a very special kind of situation to lure Matt Rhule away from Baylor. So maybe what you're saying is true. Maybe Matt Rhule says, "Damn, I get to have Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel." Maybe this is an endorsement of everything that we've been saying, that maybe he does see what kind of talent is on this football team, and Matt Rhule is betting on himself to be able to make the most out of it.
I can live with that. Yeah. Okay.
So 2 points. You brought up 2015, and this kind of triggered something in my brain. Who were our wide receivers in 2015?
Ted Ginn and Philly Brown.
And Jericho Cotchery.
Jericho Cotchery.
And Devin Funchess, salad boy.
That's right.
Devin
salad
Funchess.
boy, yeah.
Just was like a
no croutons.
Which is why I say you can compare that to Tom Brady's best season, where he had Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, and Randy Moss.
I'm saying. I'm sorry. I was barely listening. I was like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Here's why Matt Rhule should excite you, because that season was exactly what Matt Rhule wants to run his team to look like. We had nobody on offense, and what I mean by that, we had speedsters, we had athletic players that were able to get where they needed to be, and he was able to coach. We had people that were able to coach them up to be, to basically be just what we need them to be in the moments that we needed them to be. So, I mean, there is some positivity to take from that if you want to look at the blueprint of what Matt Rhule wants, it's 2015 Cam
If
Newton.
you tell
And
me
that-
this motherfucker wants Colin Jones, I'm changing my mind.
Hey, real quick, it felt so good to see Ted Ginn miss that deep ball the other day in the New Orleans game.
Yeah, what the fuck? How is he caught? How is this asshole caught everything since he left Carolina? He had all it was
He had
all
the highest
fucking
drop
thumbs
rate,
for his.
for real.
God.
But here's the thing I wanted to say. This past season, everybody had their hopes up so high. I think and at least myself.
Every year, though, we do every year.
I will tell you this. I agree, but last year was different. Like I went into last year expecting so many things. I expected Ron Rivera to turn the defense around because he had this hybrid type If there's anything that has prepared us for a new head coach, it was last season.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, we had such high expectations. We're going to naturally come into this whole ordeal with a very healthy skepticism. And that's okay. And I think that's going to allow us to actually learn and listen to what he's saying rather than just let the propaganda of what the Carolina Panthers push out make us believe certain things. But I think that's good for our psyche moving forward.
And some softer things too that people haven't been talking about. I haven't heard him speak a ton about football just yet, and we will over the next couple of years. But I've already hit
at least 7.
He has his first interview is tomorrow with the media at 2 p.m. at the Panthers bubble. So we will hear from him tomorrow.
Okay.
I've heard him mention the 3-4 defense though a couple of times. And so that's interesting to me too, because we're trying to build around a part like that. So I think potentially we don't have to work, that might be something that he's not only familiar with, but willing to embrace. So I'm excited about that. And all right, keep going, guys.
Well, what's going to excite me about this guy is going to be who he hires for his offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator.
Oh, all right. Well, actually, here, you're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. The number's 252-228-5098. And we're about to get to the catcalls line, but you brought it up, so we got to talk about it, Cody. The stat daddy said he's interested in who he's bringing in at offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. It sounds like a mystery, but I think we can tell him.
Do it.
Yeah, we absolutely can tell him. So, I mean, again, this has not been set in stone. This is not officially, this is not a done deal. This is just what.
This is also what kept him from getting the Jets job, supposedly.
Right. So apparently, everyone is already linking the defensive coordinator from Baylor, Phil Snow, to come here to Carolina.
So we're taking 2 college coaches from the same team.
We're taking 2. Now, it is a bit of a different situation because, as our guest said, Phil Snow really kind of informed the way Matt Rhule kind of built his coaching method, have you. And then
he spent 3 years with the Detroit Lions as a linebacker coach.
And then the Lions quarterback coach, Sean Ryan, is being linked to the offensive coordinator position.
I can live with that. I can live with that one. Here's what I have a problem with the defensive one. Not knocking this guy because I know nothing about him. He may be a great coach. But from what it sounds like he's bringing him in as kind of a, hey, you've been a good guy to me, you've been a friend to me type deal. That's the same thing we got mad at Ron Rivera for not putting the right people in the right positions because he always wanted to take care of the guys he liked.
He's been, but this is a different. There's a slight difference though. That Phil Snow he brought with him from Temple to Baylor, like. These guys are a couple.
Success follows these guys.
Not only are they just friends, but they're a couple. And on top of that, the Baylor defense this year was better than the Baylor offense. I don't think we can hear Greg anymore. Greg, say something. No, we can't hear you no more.
Yeah.
He got kicked out for his.
What I was going to say is with that coupling, that indicates to me that those two believe in one another.
Continuity, baby. Continuity.
Yeah.
How about
Lockstep.
If you're gonna,
Yeah.
there he is.
All
If you're
right,
gonna
yeah.
follow a guy from one program to another, coming from Temple to Baylor, like they said, like our guest said, that was a possible career-ending move, and to bring somebody with you and them trust you to do that. Tell me, I mean, like if I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm
To
following
the
a guy
worst
like that,
fucking place in the world at the time,
Yeah.
going to Baylor.
Hey, I
At
used,
the
I used to
time,
live in
and-
Waco, so
yeah. So
Yeah.
well, there you go. So I mean,
Yeah.
to see that, to have a guy like that in your back pocket who's got that trust in you, I think that's an asset. I don't think it necessarily follows the same rhythm of Ron Rivera, because his hires, I don't think he necessarily brought in. And forgive me, my memory may fail me with this. I don't think he brought somebody who had been with him forever. I feel like he, like you said, Greg, he hired people that he knew, but not people that had followed him.
okay.
Let me ask you a question. Bigger power couple, Matt Rhule and this Snow guy, or Chip and Joanna Gaines? Did that
can't
fall?
answer
Did
that
that
one.
joke fall flat on you guys?
I can't.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
I don't know who they are.
You don't know
Waiting
who.
for
All
somebody
right,
else to respond.
so first of all, Chip and Joanna Gaines are these home flippers, remodeler
Oh
people,
yeah. I know
and
you're
they
talking
live in Waco, Texas.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
that
I would have
shit.
never
Yeah,
picked up on
Gaines,
that.
the they call flip or this old house that couple.
Well, not this old house. That was like in the '80s when we watched that shit on PBS. But Fixer Upper is the name of the show.
Fixer Upper, that's it. That's it. Fixer
But
Upper.
they are. I would tell you this: is I bet you they are a bigger fucking power couple than anybody. In that they made a they're fucking running in the money right now. But okay,
You know what the biggest power couple is, don't you? Is,
what this quadruple?
Jerry and McCarthy.
No, Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, man.
No,
That's the biggest power couple there is.
McCarthy and Jerry sleeping together, guys.
Well, that just started. You got to give them a little time to
Hey.
make a baby or something. Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm power bottom. My bad.
I did want to mention something real quick, and for Greg and for anyone in our chat that's interested in kind of learning more about Phil Snow and the defenses that he does implement, I just posted a link in our chat, and it really goes in depth as to how Baylor liked to attack different sets and different looks. A lot of it goes back to or from the time at Temple and what they did and how they were successful there. And one of the things that I did want to differentiate, Greg, with what you were saying about Ron Rivera is that the difference between Ron Rivera, and that's something else we need to talk about too. Ron Rivera just drug away a ton of dead weight from this organization. But we'll talk about that later.
Thank Jesus.
Yeah, thank God, dude. But the difference between Rivera and Rhule is all the guys that Rhule is bringing with him have been a part of this building up these dumpster fire football teams in Temple and Baylor into legitimate contenders. So again, it's college to pro. I know that's the criticism here, but I think when you look at the X's and O's and just look at the stuff that they want to do, he honestly reminds me a little bit of what Brent Venables does for Clemson. A lot of disguise, a lot of 3-down linemen, a lot of different looks, a lot of emphasis on the free safety in the system, which I think is incredibly important. And the Carolina Panthers have not had a true free safety in forever, outside of Trey Boston, who, that's not saying a ton if Trey Boston has been the best free safety that you've had in a long time. So maybe that also means that we're going to emphasize positions that haven't been emphasized here on the Panthers for a while.
All right, let me try to redeem myself with that joke. All right, here it goes.
All right.
You better deliver.
What if Mr. Snow said this to you guys? Would you believe him? I put my trust in you, a stranger, because I knew it was the best chance for my people, for all our people. Now I'm asking you to trust in a stranger because it's our best chance.
I don't know where it's
You
from,
should
but
know
I'm
that
hard.
one. You should know that one.
From.
That
should know
is Jon Snow from Game of Thrones.
Oh, with the wild.
You guys, you don't know your fucking fixer-uppers. You don't know your fucking God
right
of
before you said
God,
it,
I
I'm
just
like,
called it God of Thrones, Game of Thrones. All right, guys, there's so much show to get into, guys. We got to get to the cat calls for a little while.
Oh my
we got to
gosh,
sneak
yeah.
some calls in.
Hey,
The number's 252-228. Everybody go take a leak. 228-5098. Everybody go. There's a lot of calls we got to get through. A lot of people, a lot of things to say. I'm only playing the calls from today and Rich Kingston's call. Rich Kingston call before the hire is the only one I'm playing from before today. So let's jump into the cat calls line. We want you to be a part of the show. We've got our ear to the ground when it comes to Panther Nation. We want to know what you have to say about Matt Rhule as the new Carolina Panthers head coach. Number's 252-228-5098. Smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the show. Come on, guys. Give a little support to the longest running Panthers podcast out there and tell a friend about the show. We're trying to grow. We're trying to grow Panther Nation. And just remember, just like Carolina does, the C3 Panthers podcast rules.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his notebook? Who's that kid that can use one?
What's up, guys? Kyle from VA. Just woke up and got the news that Matt Rhule is in as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. I'm not disappointed at all with the decision. I'm not. I was just a little, probably too emotionally attached to the idea of Eric being the head coach, but. Definitely, I'm not mad. I think it's a good hiring, and David Tepper, I mean, he's a smart man, and he must have seen, Matt Rhule must have told him something that David Tepper really wanted to hear, because he didn't let him leave the facility before he gave him the job. Just hopefully Matt Rhule just remembers who Cam Newton is and doesn't try to give up and move on from Cam Newton. So I really think with a healthy Cam Newton, no matter who's calling plays for this offense, with the pieces we have now, man, this offense is going to be explosive no matter who.
Well, unless it's fucking who we've had.
Man, we really could be really nasty next year. I mean, we have a chance to do that. Just wondering y'all's opinions on Matt Rhule and what do y'all think about the hiring.
Cody, I'll ask you this on this call right here.
He decides to hire as the assistant GM, and I want Wade Phillips to come to Carolina, but
we do, but he's not. He's not. Remember, you got to listen. Thanks for the call, man. And you really did just wake up and call the show. My man was still laying in bed, sleep. Cody, I'll ask you this: what do you think about this idea that if we can just get somebody to play the call the plays? I don't think I think we need. I don't know what we need, but we needed something different.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's important that we have someone that can call the right plays and do the right things. But I think really they just have to be able to execute Matt Rhule's vision. And I think one of the things
the word, vision.
And I think one of the things that we keep on coming back to is that Matt Rhule was a very well-rounded head coach. This is a guy that has coached both offense and defense, and he knows how to adapt, and he knows how to change, and he knows how to put the right people in the right positions to be successful. So I imagine Matt Rhule going through the roster, looking at the kind of talent we have, and really trying to put the right coaches on this team that are going to know how to utilize the vision of how the Carolina Panthers are going to play football. And I think it all begins and ends with Matt Rhule, and whoever does end up being the offensive and defensive coordinator, they're just going to be an extension of Matt Rhule. And
that's what we want. That's
Yes,
what we kind of want, is a vision and more of a continuity, not just the style.
Yes, 100%.
Christina Aguilera says this: the $80 bazillion question is, will Cam Newton be healthy next year? That shows you what inflation is like this, folks, because my dad used to always say the $54,000 question. So we are up from $54,000 to 80 bazillion.
Hey, Tony,
and after we just fired, after we got in a war with Iran today, that's going to be even higher. But go ahead.
Before you move on, man, explain to me the difference between vision and style.
All right, so I think that Ron Rivera wants to play a defensive style, right? A game that tries to mitigate the clock, that tries to mitigate the opposing offense, and tries to use, like Cody was saying earlier, the offense to supplement the defense.
Okay, so that's a vision?
No, that's a style. What I think a vision is saying that, like what Cody was kind of implying, I think, when it comes to like his coordinators almost doing his will. Here's a Christian reference to you. All right. You guys already got pissed at me because I read a Jon Snow quote. But the Trinity in Christianity tries to solve the problem of three entities in a religion, but being monotheistic, right? So Christians claim to be monotheistic, which we are, and the Trinity is what solves the problem. We got Jesus here, you got the Holy Spirit here, you got God the Father here. How can they work in lockstep? So in Christian reference, what they always said was, like, Jesus doesn't go and ask God for advice. He just tells. He has authority. And so what I almost think is like, and I think this is what Cody was saying, is that these coordinators are extension of him. They don't make him. And and the last point is this, and I'll turn the mic over. A couple of people on this podcast have pointed out how this team got worse when we lost Sean McDermott.
Okay.
Yes.
What I think the difference between style and vision is that if we lose Phil Snow or if we lose whoever else, the vision's still there. That's my idea of what the difference is.
Well said. I like the way you ended that. Well said. Okay. Good deal. That makes sense now.
So if you kind of want to know what I meant by it when I said it was basically, I think Matt Rhule is going to do an up and down of this roster. He's going to identify what we're able to do well, what we have the personnel to be able to run effectively, where is our strengths, where are our weaknesses, and I think he's going to put together a game plan for what kind of offense and what kind of defense he's going to run. Then once he knows those things, which I think he already does, he is going to try and hire the guys that are going to be able to execute on those specific tendencies on the offense and the defense. So that's kind of what I meant. I think Tony and I were talking about this before the show. He's not some guru of the offense in the way that Lincoln Riley is, or in a way that Jim Harbaugh is to special teams, or Belichick is to a defense. He is a well-rounded coach that, like I said, so much of his strength is being able to identify leadership abilities and the strengths in others to be able to put them in position of power to be able to, coach the team and do things the right way. And that's part of the reason why David Tepper, I feel, fell in love with him. Because he is the type of coach that for the next however many years is going to build and continuously build up the culture of the Carolina Panthers and what we do.
Okay.
One of the
can
things
accept
I
that
would
answer.
I'd like to celebrate some people in the chat room. Christina Aguilera as well as Sarah Taylor are just shining examples of this. When I got involved in doing this podcast and Twitter, I was never a person that didn't think that women didn't understand sports. I'm not a chauvinist necessarily or at all, really. Is actually, I think my wife knows a lot more shit than I do half the time, or more than half the time. But the point that I'm trying to make is this, is as I've run this show and this podcast and the Twitter account, is that I really believe that I know there are some super, super smart women when it comes to football. And these two comments, man, I'll talk about my jokes earlier. These two comments, again, reinforce that. Look, Christina Aguilera says this. It's a less of a religious analogy, but she says, it's like an egg, a shell, and a yolk. The white of the egg, they all work together. It's not an egg if you're missing a part. And Sarah Taylor says this: vision equals plan, style equals way. And I think
that sounds like a Confucius quote.
I know. I'm sitting here like, that shit is going up on the fucking locker room.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sarah Taylor.
That's my homegirl, man. She knows what she's doing.
These girls are bringing it. All right, let's jump to the next call.
Hey, afternoon, guys. Prolific Surf here. I talked to you a couple of guys on Twitter. Been on the show beforehand. Yeah, interested to see what you guys got to say about Matt Rhule. Been doing a little bit of research since I really don't know too much about him, but did get that he's a well-rounded coach many different positions, and that he's a player's coach. I don't think we need much, even though we got a lot of holes that we need to fill in. I know that I do understand that he turned 2 programs around within Temple and Baylor. I don't think we need too much turning around, but I'm interested to see how much he's going to try to change the culture over here. I know we already got like set, things that we got going on and stuff like that. So, want to see how him and Cam, what he thinks about Cam and everything like that. Also, thoughts on like now where we will go, what direction we will go with the first overall pick. Still thinks we will go best player available, but yeah. So I look forward to hearing from you guys again. Thank you, man. Thank you for the show and everything.
No, man.
I will hope so.
Thanks for the call. I think that's the guy that you've talked with him on Twitter several times, Cody.
Can you replay the first part of it, just so I can
I'll play it. I don't think he says his name.
Hey, afternoon, guys. It's Prolific Surf here. I talked to you a couple of guys on Twitter.
Yeah,
I couldn't hear it.
I didn't hear it.
Any thoughts on the call? We're all worried about his name so much we can't even remember the call.
Yeah, well, I want to make sure that we shout out. Yeah, if you want to say your name, make sure you say it clearly when you leave your message. Listen, I kind of feel like we're all in this unknown area, and listen, all of the hesitations that Greg has are legitimate. I mean, that a lot of these criticisms of Matt Rhule are legitimate just because he hasn't proven anything yet. And until he does prove that he is worth this hire and he's worth the money that he's going to be making, then yeah, I mean, he really does have a lot to prove. But I think
the money is nothing, though. I want to put this money to complete rest.
Caps, so I don't care.
Yeah.
Right,
especially
and
for David Tepper, it doesn't.
It's just coming out of his pocket. So this 7 years, first of all, I think that's, if anything, this has less to do with Tepper and more to do with Matt Rhule. And what I mean by that is that Tepper, the $60 million, look, the dude bulldozed his fucking former boss's mansion and built a fucking bigger mansion on top of it.
Yeah.
Just Google the Revenge Mansion. You'll see it.
The boss move. Hell yeah.
$60 million in the overall scheme of an 11 billionaire. And I love to say that, an 11 billionaire. He's probably a 12 billionaire by now.
I don't know. We did pretty
It's
money.
like fucking what we drop in the Salvation Army bucket when we walk
Also,
by.
keep in mind that Homeboys has spent $350 million on an MLS team for Charlotte.
Yeah.
So,
Which
And
seems
see-
ridiculous, if you ask me.
Well, and see that's why I get
Also,
upset when
so
people
is
try to-
soccer. Sorry, all
I'm about
our
to be a big
European
soccer fan.
folks.
I'm about to be a big soccer fan. But see, that's why I get upset when people get like defend athletes about money and stuff like that, like a penalty, this and that. Like, dude, seriously, you can take me outside right now and tear my ACL, break my nose, and take a baseball bat to my back if you're going to give me $40 million. Like, you can do all that. I don't care. I don't care. You can do
Well,
whatever
but
you want
most
to
players
do.
don't
Like,
get
for
$40 million.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
was about
one
to say
thing.
that's the exception.
That's like Cam Newton.
Trey Boston.
Do it for $8 million. Give me $8 million right now. You can go outside and break my
Well,
nose, kick
right,
my
most
ACL,
of us
break my
would be
collarbone.
like
I don't
that
care.
for like $850,000.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why I have a hard
And
time
I'm pretty
doing that.
sure half of us would be like that for like $25,000.
Right, exactly. So,
Would you pay for the rehab, motherfucker? All right.
exactly.
So
All right.
let's put it in perspective here. Trey Boston got $3 million last year, which after taxes, let's say he gets 1.5.
Oh,
Right.
there's no
He got-
way. Way more than that. 30%
No.
max. 30%.
No,
No.
way more.
No, when you
we're
get
not-
over
we're not
that-
about that type,
Half?
yeah, guarantee.
When you
Half?
hit over a
Yeah.
mat, I bet you're paying 50%.
Yeah, you're
Really?
you're paying a
Okay.
lot because you have that.
Well,
Not-
you
not
maybe
only
have
that, you have
some
the-
write-offs, more write-offs,
Yeah,
but it's
you
not
have
a
little
business.
bit, but
Yeah, there's loopholes. There's
All right, let's
definitely-
say
so,
let's say he paid 35% in taxes.
I'd say that's
well,
probably better. That's about what I pay.
let's say he sees.
Yeah.
Let's just say he sees 1.8 million. Okay.
Okay.
Let's meet in the middle there. 1.8 million. If he got fined $100,000 for his hits,
That's
that's
1.7
almost
million.
10. Yeah, that's like, but still, that is almost 10% of his income. Like,
Well,
if
okay,
you think about it.
that's a self-inflicted wound. Most
Yeah,
of the
but
time,
that-
you know.
Well,
most of
actually,
the
it's
time.
like saying going to work. That's you know what? It's not a self-inflicted wound. That's kind of
It
like,
is.
no,
I go to work,
you
I
might
lose
as
the
well
package.
be a sweatshop owner in the early 1900s, like the triangle. You remember when they like cats? Those girls, they'd be sewing the shirts and they break a needle, they take it out of their check. They cut themselves on the job. They take it and it bleed on a shirt. They take it out of their check.
see,
Nah,
that's
man, he
different.
got
No, see,
he went to
you're-
work and got in trouble financially.
No, what you're saying is if he goes to work and he breaks his helmet, they charge him for it. That's different than if he goes to work and he makes an illegal hit and he gets charged for it. That's two different things, you know? Like if you break your helmet while you're playing and they charge you for it, they're dickheads. If they go out there and you have a rules established, and sometimes the rules are very gray and it is difficult to determine, you go out there and make an illegal hit like what's his name did the other day on Carson Wentz. You know, that didn't get called. That's your own
nah, these
self-inflicted
plays
wound,
are
man.
going 100,000 miles an No,
I
we're
agree
moving
with you,
on
but
from this
it's a
conversation.
hazard you take in the job. You know what? If you're gonna guarantee me $1.8 million, but I'm gonna get taxed what 3% of that, or $3.3 million of that, 300,000, I'll take it. I'll
What if
still
they
take
dinged
1.5.
you
Like,
for
it's ridiculous,
packages
man.
stole? What if they dinged you for packages stole?
Oh, they definitely would ding me for packages stole by firing me. I agree with that. But that's the deal right there. Is I'm sure that if a lot of
They
things
would
come
not
up like
fire you if people on your route stole packages.
Oh, if I had enough complaints, I'm sure they would. Well, actually, we got a really strong union, so I doubt it. But,
Way to go.
But what I'm saying, yeah, union job.
Greg's gonna go postal on this show. Don't go postal on this show. Actually, do it here. Do it here. It'd be virtual.
Yeah. Virtually postal. No, you know, my thing is, man, like I get it. There are some times where you're right. It's 100 miles an hour. You know, you look at different things, but you know, sometimes a lot of plays that you get fined for are self-inflicted. You know, hits after the whistle. You know, illegal hits that you know you're doing something wrong, stuff like that. So for the vast majority, that's stuff you bring on yourself. You know, you don't see guys like Larry Fitzgerald and people like that getting fined for stuff because they don't do bad stuff. You know, now some people need that competitive edge, and I get it. If you can get away with it, then maybe it's the best thing for you to do. But whatever, man. Most penalties, as far as finances go, I don't care about the players. they're making plenty of money, dude. Like, come on. To play
but
a
so is
kid's
the
game.
fucking NFL. But all right, I do want to bring this up because I heard a recent male joke, so I do want to drop it here since
Yeah,
I'm
let me hear it.
Mr. Jokester. It's not a joke; it's more of a story, and that is they asked this male guy why the hell people go postal. Like, why are you guys so fucking upset? And he said because it just keeps coming.
It does. It never stops.
And you know what?
It never
when
stops.
he told me that, I
stops.
thought about like laundry at my house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, it's
That's
just
exactly
like
what
I
it is.
can never fucking get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Ever.
It
I
never,
just
ever
did
stops.
7 loads today. Oh,
Right.
look, there's 2 more.
Right.
Okay, let's go on to the next call, guys. And can you cover me, Cody?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
I might.
'Cause you're
This
awesome.
upcoming Season. I'm so fucking ticked off about this fucking coaching, man.
G
You
baby.
already know who this is. This is G baby. I'm pissed the fuck off.
Oh, it's
What
Matt.
warrants this guy to be a head coach in the NFL?
Okay.
All right.
Does he turn around Temple and Baylor? I mean, goddamn, do you want a fucking cookie for that shit?
This guy feels like I do, just a little more aggressive.
Do you want a
We
cookie?
don't do in the Big 12. We don't play defense.
I do want
Now
a
I
cookie,
find out
by the
he's
way.
going to bring in his defensive head coordinator from Baylor, and then I find out this dude is finalizing a 6 to 7 year deal worth $70 to $80 million. Are you fucking kidding me? This is what
I'm right there with
this
this
is what
guy.
Pepper wants.
I am. I'm without the F-bombs. I'm right
the
there with him.
analytics. This makes sense. You have Eric Bieniemy pouring his heart out.
I agree.
To coach for the Carolina Panthers, and he wants to coach
Preach.
Cam Newton.
Preach, brother.
And then you go off and you sign a dude in college that has no NFL experience. I'd rather hire Nick Daniels or fucking or McCarthy, dude.
I do want McCarthy
Yeah, I'll
instead,
put
but
on Marvin Lewis. But you want
I would take Marvin
Matt
Lewis.
Rhule? I mean, if you're gonna go to college,
Yeah.
you at least get Urban
Nah.
Meyer or the dude from Michigan. But you want to go to Matt Rhule, bro? This dude will be out by week 8.
No
He'll be
way.
picking
No
top
way.
5.
No.
Nah, I think
He'll
you're a
get 2 or
little.
3 years at least.
He's yeah.
That's straight shit. It's 2015, dude. This is I this God, dude. I'm about to for real.
Man, this is hurting him, dude.
It is. More than me. I agree with him to a certain extent, but more than me.
Like, how do you see
I mean-
Cam Newton coming back with Matt Rhule?
And don't give me shit about Ty Bowles if you're bringing up Marvin fucking Lewis.
pouring his heart out.
I want him as D coordinator.
Cam Newton.
D coordinator, not head coach.
And then I find
Who?
out that he wants to bring in
Marvin.
fucking defensive head coordinator. What the fuck has he done?
All right, take over, Cody. I'm cutting the call off. Take over.
So listen, dude, man, you know we love you. We love the energy and the passion that you bring, man. But listen, and again, I understand that I even might be in the minority on this, but I'm tired of judging dudes based off of what other assholes couldn't do before him. Like, now we're not talking about Matt Rhule. We're talking about, okay, so listen, Nick Saban wasn't successful going from college to the NFL. Is there anyone amongst you that's going to say Nick Saban isn't a good head coach? How about this? Bill Belichick was fired from the Browns, and Bill Belichick is revered as the best head coach of all time now. So it's like a lot of the criticism that I'm hearing is just, well, he was a college coach, and he's not built for this. He's not built to turn around an NFL program. Well, all I'm here to say is that y'all don't know that. If we don't know that he's able to do it, y'all don't know that he's not able to do it. All I'm saying is that the man deserves his chance, and I don't think any of us are saying that he doesn't deserve the chance. But I mean, I'm not down with people like wanting to say that this is a terrible move before it happens. There might be legitimate criticisms of the move, but dude, I promise you, Mike McCarthy would have been such a bad hire for this football team, dude, That's
I
another.
agree.
That's another hill I would die on, man.
And can I say one thing about Nick Saban real quick? In that Nick Saban is sort of a bitch when it comes to his Miami Dolphins career.
Bitch, though.
I did not like Nick Saban for the longest time because of what happened at the Dolphins. He was wearing that fucking Miami-style hat, and he said, no, I have no intention of leaving the Dolphins. He comes in there, is supposedly all in for a year and a half. Nick Saban, he hit adversity in the NFL. And he couldn't deal with it. And actually, you know what? Because of that, I want to play this. This is a quick clip on Matt Rhule when it comes to adversity and toughness.
I want them to have a couple core values, and one of them is toughness. And it's a word that people hear and people talk about, but not many young people really know what it means. I tell our guys, toughness is the mental and physical strength. It's strength, mental and physical strength to do what you're supposed to do, no matter what the circumstance, no matter how hard it is, no matter what
even
the
if
conditions
it's Miami,
are, no matter how you feel. And it's strength. It's not a talent. It's a skill. It's something that you can develop. And I want our kids, I want them to leave and learn all kinds of things, but I want to make sure that they're tough. That they don't make excuses and they don't let other people make excuses for them.
It does sound like a preacher.
That they don't let the strain of life break them. I mean, it can bend them sometimes. We all know that, man. Life hits us, football hits us, and it makes us bend, it makes us weary, but we can't break.
I think this was Rob Gould that sent this to me.
In high school football, if they don't learn about toughness,
he's talking to high school coaches right now.
In college football and high school football, when are they going to learn it? If not from us, from who? So as I leave here and I'm on this mission to have a tough football team, I just want to encourage you. We got to make sure that the game that we leave behind is the game that we love. Football is the greatest game in the world because you take your two hands and you put them on another man and you move him where he doesn't want to go. As my college coach, Coach Paterno, used to say, it's the greatest game because you knock someone down, you help them back up, and then you knock them down again. And I didn't do a lot of knocking down all the time when I was a player, so I think it's a great game because when I got knocked down, I learned to get up. And that's what I want my kids to understand. Because they're growing up in a society where they can just hit restart. Or if they don't like what I'm saying, they can just stop.
You can ghost somebody.
And I want them to learn these lessons.
Yeah.
And part of that is being physical. Each and every day is in my job. People tell me, like, it's not okay to be quite as physical anymore and all these things. And I say, no, we can't leave the game behind as just 7-on-7.
All right. That's Matt Rhule on toughness.
Hey, I sent the a DM of I guess the first actual interview Matt has done with the Panthers. So Caroline Can did it. If you want to. If you want to look at that or queue it.
Holy cow, we already got an interview with him?
Yeah, 40, it's like 42
you guys,
seconds.
All right, here, let's go to the next. Any comments?
Real quick, before you start that up, the interview up, I want to say, Cody, while you were talking about before about how you don't want to judge a character or a person by what the people before him done in the past, I agree with you there. You're right, but that doesn't mean that we should ignore statistics. Okay, like when I go with if I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket.
Well, he is an analytics guy. He would also say you shouldn't ignore.
Right. Well, if I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket, okay, I realize that 1 in every 6 point whatever billion wins the jackpot. Okay, I'm taking my chance by buying this lottery ticket, but I'm still inconsistent. Know that the stats say that I'm probably not going to win this. So you've got, I'm not saying that is an end-all, be-all of most college coaches that come into the pros don't make it, but you do have to take that into consideration. You don't want to judge him based on what people have done in the past, but you do need to keep that in the back of your mind. It doesn't always work out when you do that.
Right, but
Cody, it's a fair point for this reason. Is I'm not superstitious, but if I see a ladder, I don't walk under it on purpose. Go.
I'm not.
So you're a little
superstitious, but
stitious.
I'm a little.
No, I just don't want to mess
I'm a
with
little
superstition. Like, I'll just
This
be
is
like, if
what
I have a
I'm saying.
choice, I'll just go the other way.
It's not all
Well, you
that
said the
common
right
that you really
opportunity.
see
What is it that makes
college coaches come to the NFL, and that kind of goes to your point. But isn't that a numbers game? Like, think how many coordinators and other guys that
great
are already
point.
with NFL
It's only
teams.
been like 7 college coaches.
Hire, yeah, the amount of the number of college coaches that come into the NFL, well, it's going to be a smaller number, and they're going to focus on the little success that they've had. But look at the large number of guys with NFL experience
you're
that
moving
are
the goalpost.
coordinators, something else. But what
That's
I'm
moving the
saying is,
goalpost.
everyone flames out.
Nah, he's actually
They're-
saying percentages because,
Yeah.
like, if you say
But you're
this,
talking about
is that
percentages of two different things.
there's only
But
been
no,
20
because
college
these are-
coaches, but there's been like 200 professional
Right.
coaches.
A coach either comes from another NFL organization,
Right.
whether it be a defensive line coach or whatever, or they come from college. Well,
Okay.
more NFL coaches are getting jobs rather than college coaches. Not a lot of college coaches genuinely move up the ranks into the NFL. But a lot of these NFL guys that are already here, they're kind of proving to you in the amount that they flame out that their NFL experience doesn't matter for too much because they're just not built to be a head coach of a national, of an NFL team.
Well, see, but like I said, now you're moving
We have
the goalpost
too small
little
of a
bit.
sample set, is what he's saying.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
You're moving the goalpost because now you're comparing coaches who have coached in the NFL to coaches that have not coached in the NFL. All I was specifically saying was coaches that have not coached in the NFL, but that is a very valid point. And if you compare those two statistics, I'm sure it's probably relatively close. Well, actually, probably not, because I can only think of 2 successful college coaches. I can think of a lot of coaches that are successful in the NFL that had pro experience. So, I mean, you got to kind of look at it like that. There are 32 NFL coaches. Probably, you would say 25 of them are successful. And I'm willing to bet you of those 25, probably 24 of them were all from prior experience in the NFL. So when you look at it like that,
Well, actually,
it shows you that prior experience in the NFL does prove to be a better, attribute to have than coming straight from college.
Well, also
You know?
remember, a lot of those guys started somewhere. It's very
you're
rare
right.
that you
You're right.
ever start out just being an NFL coach or just being led into the door. I mean, if anything, I like the balls that Matt Rhule has shown. Listen, Lincoln Riley being the number one name that everyone mentions every year for every head coaching position, the Cowboys would have been available to him. Lincoln Riley has still not bet on himself to move up to the NFL.
Well, no, someone
maybe he
in the
doesn't
chat
want to.
room,
Yeah,
someone in the
want.
chat room did bring a good point at the beginning of the show, is that he can't leave Oklahoma after that loss to LSU.
I mean, dude, if the Cowboys come knocking,
Fuck
and
the
that's your
Cowboys.
dream
I
job,
guarantee
dude,
I
that's where
guarantee
you
you the
go.
Cowboys. I guarantee you the Cowboys kicked those tires and he rejected it.
All right,
already
how about
said he
this?
was-
Is
He already
CK
said he was not
doesn't
going to
that
go in pro.
bolster-
Yeah.
Doesn't that bolster the argument for Matt Rhule that Matt Rhule at least believes in what he's selling enough to say, you know what, damn it, I know that
Maybe.
my chances aren't very good, but I believe in myself enough to turn around an NFL football team. I did it
Very
at
possible.
at 2 lesser known colleges, and now I'm going to try my hand at doing it in the NFL. And I think that when you look at all the candidates that are coming from college, Matt Rhule is just as poised to be successful as any of them. Lincoln Riley or who else you want to name.
Okay.
All right, let's see if I can pan over to the Carolyn Cam interview. Oh, hold on. All right. I can. I just can't get the audio to work.
You can,
All right,
or you?
I can.
Caroline can.
Hold on. I got it. You guys come on back. Hold me up. Hold the show up for a second.
Well, I've got to come to Cody's defense a little bit. I think he's getting You know,
I agree. I'm so
roasted,
optimistic
but
about this. It's like
definitely the outlier here.
Here's the positives to everything. Here's the part of it that I'm looking at, and I'm not saying you be blind, and I'm not saying you just crap rainbows and unicorns. But what I am saying is, this is a 7-year deal. We're dealing with Matt Rhule for at least 4 years. There is no situation where after this deal
we're not actually, dude. We're dealing with him as long as Tepper's checkbook wants us to.
But what I mean by that is we're dealing. They put him for 7 years. He can. The thing. The
four is the
relevant.
Yeah, but he would just pay him. Wouldn't you just pay your ex-wife to leave if you really fucking hate him?
If he fires him, he has to pay him.
Here's my point. To have the mentality that this isn't going to work out, which I'm not saying you do, Greg, but I think there's a lot of people out there who feel that way.
Right.
It's going to make your life miserable when it comes to thinking about the Panthers. Even if next year we do bad, if you sit there and say, I told you so, well, you're going to be back in the exact same position. This is a rebuild, and I think we can all agree that it's not going to change overnight. We'd like for next season to be a different season, but if, it may not necessarily be the time where, we may not be where we want to be. But I think that with time, one of the things that I'm a firm believer in is I don't care what your education is. I don't care what your background is. If you care enough about a job, if you are willing to put your effort into it and learn and be open to criticism, it doesn't matter what degree you have. Everybody can do that job. You put me in a CEO position, let me learn for about 3 months, learn what the ins and outs are. I'm not going to say I know everything, but I can tell you I'll be able to do a pretty daggone good job without having a doctorate in whatever degree that most CEOs have a doctorate at.
Right. Thank you. I got to shut down y'all.
Can I have?
You and I are ready to fight. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Don't defame my future wife. I don't.
It's such a loser.
Hey, listen, man. I do want to say this. Listen. So, Greg, I'll ask this to Greg.
All right.
Okay. How familiar are you with Urban Meyer?
Just what I've seen from ESPN. I've never really delved into his career or anything else.
Okay, but you know that he's been successful. All throughout college. He won championships at Florida with Tim Tebow. Then he went to Ohio State, won a championship with Ohio State. He's known for turning around programs, and even though he's been in college, he's been a name that's been rumored to be out there forever. Would you still have the same criticisms if we hired Urban Meyer?
No, because I would have some of the same criticisms, but not as strong, because Urban Meyer showed more success on the college level than Rhule has.
Okay.
Like Rhule's turned franchises around, but he hasn't won anything. Urban Meyer turned franchises around and won stuff. Had Heisman Trophy winners. Had #1 draft picks. There's a little bit of a difference there.
That's because, let's be honest, Urban Meyer sticks around until there's a controversy. Matt Rhule, Matt Rhule bets on himself, and if he has an opportunity to go and make another program better, then he's done it. Urban Meyer doesn't leave voluntarily. He leaves when that controversy hits. So he's spent more time places. He's going to get it to that point. Matt Rhule sees what he saw in Baylor, and we may end up having that same thing happen here in Carolina, where he says he felt like he's done what he needed to do at Baylor. He got them where he needed to get them, and then now they can go on and continue to be a powerhouse that he's created them into being in there in that whatever the division is. But nonetheless, that's where I think that the part of this where when you compare Urban Meyer, he may have more success. Matt Rhule has more gumption or more testes, if you will.
But that's a subject.
Urban Meyer's always been thrust into pretty great situations.
Yeah,
right. I agree.
That's another good point too, and that's part of the article that we interviewed Chris Homer earlier. Part of what he talks about in that article is that when you're the head coach of Baylor, all the best prospects aren't coming to Baylor.
Right.
They're going to Alabama. They're
Right.
going to Clemson. They're going to Florida. They're going to all these big name programs. I would say that, I mean, yeah, listen, Urban Meyer's a great coach. I'm not saying that he isn't. But when you go to Ohio State, you know by just that brand of the Ohio State Buckeyes, you're going to have the best players at your disposal.
Well, that's the exact thrust of the article is my man against Penn State could never get the best recruits. So how do you beat them?
Right.
And
So
Urban Meyer has always look. I mean, I guess if anything, was he in Stanford?
Well, no.
With Luck?
Where was he? Coach? No, Urban. No, he was Florida with Tim Tebow. And then he won.
Who was he with before Florida?
But I don't have his history up behind me right now. But the overall point that I'm trying to make is that Rhule has done more with less. I mean, he's been bad seasons, and then he's turned it around, and he's been competitive with football teams that he's not supposed to be competitive with. Now, and let me speak to Carl D in the chat. Listen, and to you, Greg, I'm not saying that none of these concerns are legitimate. Because as of right now, Matt Rhule hasn't proven a damn thing. And that's just the 100% the truth. I'm saying there's enough reason for Panther fans to get behind this hire and be optimistic about what Matt Rhule has the potential
I agree.
to do.
100%.
That's all I'm saying.
Let's try to see if we can get to this Carolyn Cam thing
Yeah,
because
I heard it in the video.
All y'all are thirsting.
Well, you said the right opportunity. What is it that makes Carolina that right opportunity?
A missed opportunity, right?
Getting to know Mr. Tepper, getting to know Marty. It was very clear that things were going to be done
very
right
short.
way.
I'm assuming there's going to be a longer version.
They were not looking for a quick fix, but instead they were looking for sustained excellence. They were looking for a coach who was going to come in and build a program, and that's all I really believe in. It's not to me about, rising and falling day after day. It's about putting a process in place that guarantees that you're going to be successful in the long run, and then having the guts, having the toughness to stick to it through good times and bad.
That might have been.
And when I listened to them talk, that's what they were looking for.
That was 43
seconds.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like
it turned off. The whole thing was 43 seconds. I don't know what that was. I
Okay,
don't know if that was everything.
Can I put one thing to rest though?
And listen,
Can I put one thing to rest on this show? Is that why y'all and you guys are gonna have to pull up the YouTube thread to see this? But while y'all are talking about Caroline can, right? Yes, we can, and all this.
Oh, really? We're going there?
I'm talking about.
I know what you're doing right now, dude.
Lorena Shaw.
You're a dog.
Lorena Shaw. This is Cam Newton's new girlfriend, and you trying to tell me?
Yeah.
All right, Josh from Mass. You want to freeze it on Caroline Cam?
I mean, I don't see anything.
I told you I was gay for Cam. My man knows exactly what I love in the world, and it is big butts. Good Lord. This mug.
You're not lying.
I'm telling y'all, if you looking on the YouTube right now, you are... sorry, ladies. And actually, you know what? You probably like it too. Good Lord.
How could you not like that?
How can you not like that? That's way Caroline can. I'm so tired of y'all thirsty mugs. We talk about thirsty bitch. Y'all thirsty mugs. I'm thirsty for that booty.
Listen, man, Caroline Can is gorgeous. She is kind. She has beautiful eyes. She's a tall drink of water, and you're not gonna slander her anymore, damn it. Caroline Can. I will not stand for it. Josh will not stand for it.
Yes, you
no
can.
one will stand for it. But by the way, me and Carl D are gonna have a conversation.
All right. Can we?
Me and Carl, listen. Baylor had for those of you who don't know, Art Briles, the former coach at Baylor, was paying for his students to get prostitutes in order to commit to Baylor.
Has nothing to do with pay, though.
No, well, listen, whatever. What I'm saying is, Baylor was attracting no one at the time Matt Rhule was hired to be the head coach. So no, Carl.
It was a dumpster fire. It's the worst job in America at the time. It may have been the worst job in the entire country.
I don't know. Did you see UNC football that time?
Sanctions. No, it was because they had the giant sexual, all of that sexual harassment, the strippers, the rapists, all of that. There was like 32 cases at Baylor, and you know what they did? They went and brought in a preacher's son to fix it. They didn't have no talent. All right, let's go to the next call. Let's move on. We got to move on. Let's move on.
He utilized what he had. They went from 1-10 to being in the Big 12 championship, and a lot of the players were the same team that went 1-10. So that's how you utilize talent. No, they didn't have a ton of good talent, Carl.
You play different players in college every year. You don't do that in the pros.
All right, next call.
Sam.
Yo, what's up, C3? This your boy, Nova Black. It's been a long minute since I called. Y'all know, we all know, I'm quite sure everybody's talking about it. Matt Rhule, the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Just when you thought it couldn't get better than Ron Rivera, well, nobody actually thought that, but you may have seen that was a good idea for some, but a lot of us been calling for his hanging and getting him up out of there. Ron Rivera's gone. We got Matt Rhule. Listen, I really think this guy can turn this thing around. Regardless of what they do with Cam, I believe they're going to bring Cam back, and, man, it's going to be one heck of a season.
Nova preaches, bro.
And it's crazy because you know that's David Tepper's guy. David Tepper went down to Waco, met with the man that didn't leave, until he had the man. Hey, I'm happy. I'm excited. I look forward to whatever we do. I'm a Panthers fan regardless, but I'm always going to root for Cam to be QB1. But, if they make the right moves, you know what I'm saying? Hey, that's something I'm willing to live with. But, Lord, please don't take us back through the Vinny Testaverde and what's that boy name? Matt Moore. The other guy that we drafted
Jimmy
from
Clausen.
I can't even remember his name. Jimmy Clappin, Jimmy Clausen. Whatever it was. Man, listen, we suffered in Y2K until we got Cam Newton in 2011. I think it'll be stupid to let him go. I think if you bring Cam back, McCoy's going to want to come back. All these other guys are going to want to come back. We might be able to get this roster back with some better coaching, better defensive coordinating, you know what I'm saying, some more motivation. And if it's God's will, if the football gods will, let us see Cameron, Warren Newton, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Golden Greg Olsen, and company, you know what I'm saying, wield the Lombardi, man. Let this year be our year. Okay? Okay. Good.
Somebody pointed out in the chat room that he was a legend, Nova Black, and he is. He's the man, the myth, the living legend. One thing that I wanted to point out about the call, and I don't know what it made me think of this, but we've seen all of these coaches, Ron Rivera pulling this coaching tree, right? Even from now Scott Turner reportedly being the offensive coordinator, maybe, and the Redskins to, who is it? Vermillion. What's the guy? The
Ryan
medical
Vermillion.
dude? Yeah. Any news? Yeah. Has anybody fucking heard Eric Washington's name going to the Redskins?
I mean,
no, not a
that's
fucking word. They got Jack Del Rio, which is the best hire Ron Rivera's made since probably Norv Turner, to be honest.
Yeah,
I like Norv Turner.
That happened here in Carolina. Why
I have a theory about this. I have a theory. I think Ron was scared to hire a guy that he thought was as good as him.
Oh, maybe so.
Because that's my theory too. A little bit with Norv Turner. A little bit is that the only reason he hired him is because they had such a good personal relationship. He wasn't worried about us booting him for them. And I think Jack Del Rio's here. All of a sudden, Ron Rivera's looking like shit, and then we go, all right, well, interim coordinator Jack Del Rio.
So now, do we have news? I mean, is everybody? And I may have missed it because I know Scott Turner was hired for the Redskins. Does that mean all the coaching staff was officially let go, or do we actually still have those on staff and they're just accepting other jobs?
They can't be. Well, that's a great question because I heard some asshole try to tell me today that Jason Garrett was still they said this, the Giants had to request to interview Jason Garrett while they had already announced that Mike McCarthy was a head coach. And I was like, what in the fuck does that even mean? Can't Jason Garrett just say, fuck y'all, I quit? Bitches, fuck you.
Well,
you cool.
To be fair,
hey, Rhule,
he still is under contract until the middle of January.
Well,
until when?
January, yeah.
January. Well, we're in January.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the middle of
14th,
January, so that may be why they needed the request for.
I hate that. That's bullshit. I mean, I get it. Any other Nova Black brings the heat every week.
Gosh, yeah.
Or anytime he calls, he's better. Yeah. And somebody said it in the chat room. Legend. Nova Black. Nova Black is the title. He holds the title. And I feel like G Baby is a contender.
Yeah. He's right there with it.
You know what I'm saying? But Nova Black is the title.
Josh from Mass brings the heat, too.
He's a heavyweight. Josh from Mass does. But he gives me too much shit to fucking... I'm not going to give... Yeah, G is great.
Yeah, too, man.
But Josh Mass too much fucks with the promoter, man.
We have some legendary fans. We got some legendary fans, and they bring the heat and the cat calls, and that's why we love them.
It's like I said earlier, man. The four guys we have here and the fans make this show amazing.
Oh, it's amazing. Look, it's 11 o'clock. We're still going. Yeah. We got 10 more calls to go.
Ride, boys.
Next call.
10 more calls to go.
It's G-Baby again.
To describe how angry I am right now. There's no word to describe how angry I am right now.
G-Baby, cheer up, bitch.
I'd rather have Mike McCarthy do like.
Shut up.
Hit me up on Twitter, man.
I'm done with the Panthers.
I'm feeling you.
I'm done with this team.
I'm not done with them.
Oh, G, come on, man.
G-Baby.
You can't be done with them, man. You can't be done.
I promise you, it's not as bad as it seems.
Give him a chance to fail.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
Give him a chance, man. Give him a chance.
You're done. What? G-Baby had too much to drink last night.
I think he did.
He woke up in the arms of an ugly woman. He thought it was Caroline Can, and it turned out to be Caroline Can.
Turn this call off. We have
all right, it's done. I don't know. I don't think that's the real G-Baby.
Yes, G-Baby.
That's an imposter G-Baby.
G-Baby is in his emotions. He's
feeling his own head. Yep.
G, I promise you, it is gonna be okay, my man. It's gonna be fine. Give the man a chance. Give him the opportunity to fail first. We don't know that he's gonna fail, man. I think there's enough reason to be optimistic. Bring that fire, man. But come on, this ain't the G-Baby that we know and love. It's gonna be okay, fam. It's gonna be okay.
Oh yeah, I mean here's the thing. You've got to put trust in what David Tepper is doing. He's made a lot of really positive moves for this organization, and for him to make this jump to fly down to Waco to basically steal this man from the Giants. I mean, that's got to tell you something that they really believe in this guy, and I think it's only fair that we trust that he has a better understanding of what he wants as far as a vision for this team. I think it's a lot better than a lot of people are making it out to be, but I do think that it does. It's a gamble. Somebody asked earlier, can we agree that it's a gamble? Any hire would be a gamble, but I think that this is probably the best thing we needed for our organization to be able to actually succeed without, without leaning one way or another. We would sacrifice one place. We would sacrifice on defense if we went with an offensive-minded player. We would sacrifice on offense if we went with a defensive-minded or coach, rather. So I think this is the best thing that could have happened to us. In my opinion, he was my number one pick. I just thought that it was not possible because he already announced that he wasn't coming to the NFL.
Yeah. Well,
let me tell you. Go ahead.
Okay, real quick. While you're right. We really can't judge anything until we see it. I've got to take the side of skepticism here, and I get the skepticism. It's a show me type deal right now. I'm not with Carl D and Baby G, some of these guys who are totally out of it. It's a show me type deal. So for me, it's a prove it year. Like, show me some progression, because you can say that David Tepper has made some great moves, but we've had a losing record the last 2 seasons. And he's been our owner the last 2 seasons. Now, I get it takes time to turn things around, but he hasn't shown me anything yet that's made us a winning team.
You got to also remember the first season, there was no ability to change anything. Like, the only thing he could change was the emblem on the field. That was literally the only thing he had any time to change.
And black helmets. He needs to change that too.
And then the second year, I think that there's so much going on at that point in time. To fire Ron Rivera was going to be premature with an injured Cam Newton with his history of success within the organization. So, yes, 2 losing seasons, but now we're actually being able to see him make moves. And this is going to indicate, this will be a fingerprint of what the future of this franchise is and what type of owner we have.
Okay.
And I think that to have anything but optimism moving forward, skepticism is always healthy. I think that's something, but I think where G-Baby is having a little bit of trouble is that he's lost any possible sight of optimism. And I think that that's where we need to try to pull him back off the ledge a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, we could have hired the douchebag that the Giants hired, Joe, whatever his name is. Like, that guy wasn't even the best candidate for a coaching job on that football team. Like, listen, everything that Greg said is legitimate. I haven't said that any of it is wrong. The fact of the matter is, it is true. A lot of these college coaches don't have success when they come into the NFL. So it's completely reasonable to say, well, you know what? I want to see it before I believe it. And that's 100% reasonable. All we're posing to you is that there is reason for everyone to believe that this hire comes with a lot of good things to build the Carolina Panthers and can actually do what he says he's going to do.
Oh, look, I will agree with you to the point of this hire means there will be change. Whether it be good or bad, I don't know. But I will agree with you right now to the point of this hire, there will be change. And I want to see where that change goes. And then when that change starts to bear some fruit, then I will feast.
I'll put one more thing out there. Eric Bieniemy, I think you said that was your pick.
Yes. No, Harbaugh was my pick.
Harbaugh was your pick. Yeah.
After that was Bieniemy. So
he's been interviewed by a lot of people, and nobody's really saying he's a top candidate.
Well, because that's all interview process. Like, actual applying the application of the actual job and knowledge, and somebody not being good at an interview. That's like people in high school that were super smart but didn't test well. I mean, they're very smart people. Because they didn't test well doesn't mean they're dumb. It just means that they don't test well.
Who did G-Baby say he would be okay with? I got to listen to the call again. It was like crazy. Hold on.
We let go of Ron Rivera for this, dude. A Big 12 coach.
Who?
We let go of Ron Rivera for this. I'm done. I'm sorry.
Now, move on to it.
I got something. I got to say something about it.
I haven't been this mad in a long time. To let go of Ron Rivera for this dude, when you had a chance to get Eric Bieniemy, which stated he wanted to coach Cam Newton, it makes no fucking sense.
All right. So, G Baby, you guys that are part of the show, my crew needs to turn over to YouTube to see this because they can't see this. But my buddy used to always tell me in life that you go to the bar and you think you're taking home Giada. And I hate to tell you guys, these are old man references. Somebody said dad jokes right now. So you go to the bar. You go to the bar, you're taking home Giada, right? And I think that some of these people that you're talking about, at one point, who did he reference? He would rather have who? Marvin Lewis?
He said Mike McCarthy, Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, all right.
I want Marvin Lewis as the defensive coordinator.
So you're at the bar. You're at the bar. You're feeling good. You think you're taking home Giada, and this is what my buddy always said. And he said, when you wake up with barefoot Contessa. And
you know what? Hey, I got a perfect comment for that. Is my stepdad always taught me that no matter how good that girl looks, there is somebody somewhere that is sick of her shit. Period. There is somebody somewhere that is sick of her shit. So you just got to realize that everybody has flaws.
I've heard true, but barefoot Contessa would make you a fucking fantastic breakfast.
Yeah.
Listen, I've heard that same saying. I've heard it said slightly different though. I'll save that for a different time. But listen, no, 100%. If I wake up next to barefoot Contessa, shit, we having pancakes in the morning, motherfucker. Let's go. Shit, right. sex and a meal. I'm down, man. Shit, beggars can't be choosers, y'all. Come on.
Yeah. All right, let's go. No, that's not the right voice. That's a wrong voice. Let's go.
You don't hear from me in like weeks, and then I phone up 3 times.
Rich, what's up, brother?
I'm happy. I'm glad it's
this is before the call, but he deserves it. Before the hire.
I'm sure the phone's going to be red hot tonight. Interesting. The fact Wade Phillips is out there, I still wonder whether he might come in. I don't think that would be a bad thing to pair with him, but he might want all his own people. But I'm sure Seppa could bring him in for God knows how much. Anyway, really, really looking forward to the show. All right, guys, take care. Keep down.
Yeah, this is why I called.
And what did I tell you guys about Wilker? You know who this is.
It's like, G-Baby sobered up.
That was Tepper's guy. I don't believe Marty Hurney drafted Wilker. I don't believe that shit. That was Tepper's guy, and look how that shit.
I wonder if I played these out of order.
Like I said, it's a fucking joke. I really don't think David Tepper even knows fucking football at this point. I don't.
Oh, God, G-Baby is so... His flip-flops must have broke, yo.
What?
Oh, God.
He broke his flip-flops, yo. All right, next call. He broke his flip-flops.
Not to mention Matt Rhule. He's 47 and 7 seasons at Temple and Baylor. Let me repeat that again, Panther Nation, you dumbasses. Not the people on the podcast.
Poor G-Baby is fucking... He lost his flip-flop. He didn't break it. He lost one.
Wait, hold on. Let's hear
7 seasons at Temple and Baylor.
Here, you want me to rewind it?
43.
Yeah.
And 7 seasons at Temple and Baylor. And we just signed this fool to a 7-year deal, close to $80 million.
He is preaching what I am preaching.
Baylor, $15 million just to sign him.
He is preaching what I'm preaching, guys.
You cannot judge those first 2 seasons. Every single place he's gone has been a rebuild. Like,
no, I get that.
That's like saying you take over a 2-4 team, Panthers, and you get to a 6-win team, but it's a failure.
Okay, so here's the thing.
G-Baby lost his flip-flops.
No. I want to ask you guys. You're right. Okay, judging the first 2 seasons at each school is a little harsh because he's going in and rebuilding. So in 2 years, in 2022, okay, if we have had 2 6-10 seasons in a row, are you guys going to be on the bandwagon?
It depends upon what those seasons look like.
Say the number again. Say the number again.
If we're 6-10 the next 2 seasons, Will you guys be on the bandwagon for Rhule to be?
I'm not off the bandwagon because that's what we had right now.
And dude, did you? Okay, so how about this? Do we think
If we're
Kyle
6 and
Shanahan- Wait, hold on, Tony. Do we think that Kyle Shanahan is one of the best coaches in the NFL right now? Yes.
And we paid Matt Rhule more than him. We paid Matt Rhule more than him.
Who had 2 terrible seasons to start out their head coaching tenure with the San Francisco 49ers?
Fair point.
Kyle Shanahan.
Yes.
So listen, man, everyone wants instant grits, but sometimes you got to crack you got to grind it up.
Fair
You
point.
got to put the butter, the milk. You have to put some love and attention into something before it turns around into the finished product. Everyone, and listen, how about this, David?
Cody, what's a grit?
No.
I'm all up in my shit tonight.
Tony, don't make me mad right now. And the damn well you know what grits are.
You better goddamn.
You gotta go watch my cousin Vinny. You gotta go watch my cousin Vinny.
Listen,
that's on your homework list.
I've seen it before. I just don't.
What's a grit? That's what he says. Okay.
Oh my God! Listen, all I'm saying is this: you have to put love and affection and time into something
I hear you.
before it turns into what you want it to be.
Okay.
And
So-
if you look at Kyle Shanahan, there have been other examples too. David Tepper even said himself, "Listen, the coach that we're going to hire probably isn't going to come in and take us to the Super Bowl in the first year." I mean, there has to be reasonable expectations about what's possible for Matt Rhule in 2020.
I completely understand what you're saying. All I want is a commitment from you and everybody else that's agreeing with this, that in 2 years from now, I'm marking it down right now, January 7th,
I give any coach 3 years. That's what I say. I give any coach 3 too.
Yeah.
January 7th, 2022.
Yeah.
We are going to come back to this point, and if we've gone 6-10 or 5-11 for the last 2 years, I want you guys to have the same vigor and the same fire you have for this guy right now, and I want to see if it is legitimate.
Oh, what you're asking us is to do this.
It's not going to be. I guarantee.
You're asking Josh from Mass to have the same feelings before and after he sleeps with Caroline Can.
Well, one,
I don't even want to talk about feelings after I sleep with a Caroline Can, but
gosh, it's like, I just need a cigarette and a nap. Is what my man said.
Listen, when it comes to Carolina Can, Josh will be happy with my sloppy seconds. Okay.
He's gonna roll. Cody's gonna roll on out of there.
Dude, if we
Like I
ever
said,
become famous
hey.
one day, people are gonna come back and listen to these podcasts and just tear us to shit.
It's like I said,
we're all
going to be here
live.
2 years
My
from now.
name is
2
blah
years
blah
from now, I
blah
wanna hear
blah
what you're
blah
saying.
blah. I am not affiliated with any job. All right, we have a whole interview with Kyle Bailey to get to, so let's go
gosh,
through.
I forgot about that.
Yes, let's go through one more call real quick before we do.
Yo, Z3 fam.
Yo, this is Josh from Mass.
What's up, Josh?
Wouldn't you know it? On this fine Tuesday morning, the Panthers decided that I'm the only Josh from Mass they needed and didn't even bother meeting with McDaniels because they're looking to follow the rules. Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is a great call already.
Josh from Mass we need.
Oh, yeah.
Great call already.
Tons. Let's do it all day. Here we go. Anyhow, gentlemen, my thoughts on the hire. To be totally honest, he was somebody not entirely on my radar. And I think that's fair for a lot of us. If you're not into college ball, you probably don't follow him too much. I don't follow a lot of college ball.
I'm the same way. It's too much to keep up with.
Yeah, I'm a very amateur follower.
Just too much to keep up with. I only got so much time.
Like everybody, you start rushing online and looking. What is this man done? What's he all about? And it really sounds promising. He's turned around not one but two programs.
College
He's
programs.
signed on to a
Yes, you're right.
short-term
saying, like, no, he's here for, excuse me, I just finished eating. He's here for 7 years. That and
check out your next fiance, Caroline.
Touched into something that is near and dear to Tepper's ideology with the whole, sports science and all that. So I think really on the management side it's a good fit, but listening to what his former players and up until today, really you could say current players have to say about the man, you struggle to find things that are bad. You really do. You struggle to find things that are poor. Because I still haven't really found much. Except for, it's not instant success, but when you look at
I think it's a great point right here, Josh.
Dynasties or whatever you want to call them, or the teams that had prominence for any significant period of time, and it wasn't an overnight thing. Usually it was a coach coming in and then some players coming in.
I disagree.
And it was a development. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this development
Great
goes.
call. No, I agree 100%.
Yeah, that's really it. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes,
Right.
and I'm hoping we stay with Cam, because from what I've seen, that's a lot of what his offensive systems have entailed. Crap! I'm gonna have to call back. Three.
All right, don't call back. Well, you can call back, but we got so many calls. We got so many calls. But here, let me tell you, Greg, why I think this is why he's right here, and why I agree with him, and why you say you disagree. Is that my wife and I have been together for almost 20 years, right? We have a fantastic relationship, but in that 20 years, we have had problems, right?
Yeah.
And problems that have gone to points that could ruin. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I mean, and when I say 20 years, it's really been 19 years. We've been dating. We've been married 13 years and all this. We've been together for that whole time. And we got in this giant argument recently, and problems too in our marriage. And I said to my wife is that we have to stop focusing on what we do wrong. Not stop focusing on it entirely, but focus on also what we do right.
Right.
And I think that's a little bit relevant to the Rhule hire here, is that the wrongs are the college part, the this, the that. But we can also build our relationship on what we do right. And I think that's where Josh is making a good point.
Well, okay, I'll counter that with mine and my wife. Me and my wife.
Oh, we're all airing it out. It's counseling, dude. Yeah. Get on the couch, brother. Get on the couch. Me and my wife
were together for 6 months before we got married, and we
were
about to
shit, impulsive as fuck.
And we're about to celebrate our 12th anniversary.
Hey, so congratulations!
It can happen. It can happen. My thing is, the odds don't say that'll work. Now, I took a chance.
Most people are going to get divorced, so don't get married.
Yeah, I took a chance, and then I bet on myself, and that's what these guys are telling me that,
Nope. I'm cutting everybody off. Everybody on the C3 Panthers podcast bet on their spouse.
You should bet on your spouse.
Sorry, my bad.
My thing is, man, I just don't want to put my eggs into the basket of something until I see some kind of proof. Period. Like that. That's all there is to it.
That's okay. I mean, it's always good to have healthy skepticism. What I worry about, and I'm not saying you're doing this, Greg, is that we feed into this narrative, and then what we end up having is another situation with Cam, like where you have half the fan base divided, and all of a sudden now one thing goes wrong, and everybody's calling for his head. And what type of mentality does that really provide as far as confidence from a coach?
You're right.
So, I mean, right now to have anything but optimism does nothing. I think it's okay to have skepticism, but to not be optimistic about where the future of this franchise is going. You can agree with the hire, you can disagree with the hire all you want, but he is our coach, and let's assume that Tepper knows what he's doing with hiring him. Let's assume the guy has been hired by 2 different college programs. after being hired by an NFL program. Let's assume the guy knows what he's doing. That's the part of it. And this is, like I said, the aggressiveness is not directed toward you, Greg. It's that that there's I think a lot of people out there that don't know enough about him. There are a lot of people who maybe know a little bit too much about him, and that's where their opinion's going. If you are a Panthers fan right now, the only thing that should be in your mind is, can he change what we've been seeing for the past 2 years, and can he bring a winning culture back to the NFL or back to the Carolina Panthers? And let's hope that that's the case and praise him for it.
No, you know what? I agree with you 100%, man.
Crazy right now.
I agree with you 100%, man. And you, like I said, you got to realize my opinion is an uneducated one from I don't know this guy, and that's why I'm skeptical about him. But you're right. There is a healthy skepticism about it. You need to be skeptical about that kind of things and really, analyze what you're doing here. I am holding my judgment until I see what the first year holds. And I know that sounds like a bitch. It does. It really does. Like, I can't make an opinion before this happens, but I really don't know. And I don't want to talk out of my ass and say this guy can't do it when maybe he can.
So, Greg, let me ask you this.
Then we gotta wait.
Hold on. Let me pose this question to you then. So, and you and I are both on the same page. Like, we're gonna pour our support to the guy. We're gonna, give him the opportunity, the benefit of the doubt to be a successful coach. But let me ask you this: do you think it was a bad hire? Like, I know you're gonna run with it. You're gonna give him his chance. But if you just had to evaluate it based off of your assessment, would you say that it's a bad hire for the Carolina Panthers?
Great
Based off my assessment from what I've seen of this guy, no, it's not a bad hire because he's been successful thus far. And you can't trump that. You can't ignore that. You could be skeptical about what he's going to do in the future, but you can't ignore what he's done so far. So, no, I would say it's not a bad hire. That's why I'm not mad about the hire. I'm just skeptical about where we're going to go in the future. And it all has to do with the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, if they're going to keep Cam, all that stuff. Like, it changes everything.
So. All right, we got to strap on our seatbelts, fellas. We got to put this Kyle Bailey interview in. It's 16 minutes. So, drink a monster.
How many cat calls do we have?
4 more.
Should be, yeah.
Well, you want to just tear through the last 4 and then just finish with the interview?
All right. It's a lot of calls.
They
keep going. All right, let's go. Next call. I want it.
Hey, I'm gonna give my prediction.
It's Josh again. Josh.
Yeah, I'm down with the Rhule hire. I'm down with the puns. And I really.
He's down with the puns.
I do see a lot of potential here. I think anybody expecting it to be a first-year success explosion or whatever, I think they're going to be in for a little bit of a rude awakening. But I think as time goes on, this will prove to be a good decision. McDaniels really, part of me really liked the idea. Part of me really, really didn't like the idea. So, and McCarthy, I really couldn't stand the idea of it. I absolutely could not stand the idea of that old cross-eyed man being our head coach. No. Man was struggling to get the job done with Aaron Rodgers. And say what you will about Rodgers, but he's one of the best of our time. And just no. No. Now, as far as playoff football goes, man, I know it was a rough week for Tony watching not only the Bills but the Saints.
Oh,
as some may know, those are his other teams.
He knows how to fuck with me. He might as well be he's my spirit wife.
But it's okay. At least you got rid of that awful mustache. Yeah, that's about all I got to say. And
yeah. Fuck off.
My little away from the...
You're done, Josh.
D3, what's going on? Simple Southern Customs on Instagram here. Man, what a series of events. From New England losing to the Saints losing or another questionable call. What a weekend. And then today we got some big winners. Panthers got a big win, but I think the biggest winner is David Tepper. Not only did he burn the Giants, but what a decisive win for David Tepper to be able to come in here and get the man that they want. They're building around this man. I mean, I believe they're going to, the feeling here is Jimmy Johnson coming in and last college coach to come in and really shake things up and have some success. But I'm glad that David Tepper is getting the autonomy to build his thing, to build his workhorse. That's awesome. Hopefully it's with Cam. They need to give him that last year, I think. But with rumors going around that Brady could potentially look at the Panthers.
Oh, I don't. Shut the fuck up. Not you, not the caller, but
Patriots culture.
Yeah.
In Carolina.
No, Tom Brady in Carolina wouldn't work for shit.
But no, what do you think on all that? I think Tepper's
I can't wait to
really
get
big
my
winner
prediction.
here.
Thank you for the call. Go ahead, guys. Tom Brady in Carolina. Anything? I want to blow my brains out thinking about this.
Yeah, it's the stupidest.
I mean, I'm not. Listen, dude.
Why would he pick us out of any team? How about that? Before we start, if whether or not Tom Brady is worthy, and he is. I mean, he's the best quarterback ever in the history of football. I get that, but he's not right now. But still, why would he come to Carolina? New coach. No. It's not a match. It's not a match.
How about this? You couldn't say Aaron Rodgers. You couldn't say Tom Brady. You damn sure couldn't say Phillip Rivers. Listen, I don't
Get
want
Phillip Rivers out of your fucking mouth. I hate that motherfucker.
I don't want to reach that, man. Listen, I either want Cam Newton. Listen, I'm gonna be
or
really,
Tua Tagovailoa.
No, I either want
Cam
Newton.
Say it. I want to hear you say it.
Say it, Cody.
Tua Tagovailoa.
He says it's so good. It says so good.
Hey, how about this? Clemson has a quarterback coming next year named DJ Uiagalelei.
Oh, shut up. All right, can we go to the next call? Can we go to the next call, please? Next call. Oh, God, you got something to say? God, you always got something to say.
I either want the Panthers quarterback to be Cam Newton, and that's number one. And if it's not Cam Newton, I want Trevor Lawrence. And
I can't wait to give my prediction. I cannot wait to give my prediction at the end of the game or the end of the show. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, we got like 12 hours to go, so you should get ready.
Sorry, to take a quick break. Had to go get my fresh dollar tea from McDonald's. But if I haven't written the itinerary for this show and the next one, let me go ahead and throw another thing out. They're looking at pick 7 for the Panthers. Now, they're talking about Tua. You know, that name's been associated with pick 7. Now,
he's not going to make it there.
This doesn't make any sense because let's
he
look at
is
Cam.
slotted to make it there.
The big deal is
no, he won't.
Cam's injury.
But you're always right, Greg. So
I was going to say you said that about the 7th pick. So.
If we draft Tua, we're going to be doing the exact same thing, putting ourselves in the exact same situation again.
No, we're not.
Injury prone.
No,
He's been
we're
hurt
not.
how many times?
Cam is not being injury prone. Next call. Can't listen to it. Sorry.
Oh.
Wait, what? Wait.
You want to listen to all of that? All right, we'll go back.
No, I mean, listen, I'm not.
I mean, if we draft Tua, we're going to be doing the exact same thing, putting ourselves in the exact same situation.
It's nothing like Cam Newton.
No, we're not. It's starting over.
How many times in like a year and a half?
Cam Newton has not been injury prone.
Yeah, hold on.
No,
I got here.
Amount of storylines out of the NFL this past few days. Waiting to see what stupid decision the Browns make next. But all right, guys.
I don't get it.
Wait, was this call in favor of or against Tua?
I think it was against Tua.
Against.
It was against Tua.
Against, yeah.
Yeah, and so listen, me and a friend of mine were talking about this on Twitter. It's like, if you draft a young quarterback, it's with the idea that it's not battle worn. He doesn't have all the miles on him that an NFL quarterback has. Tua hasn't proven the ability to physically withstand an SEC West schedule. So why should we believe as of right now?
I want to interrupt that on 2 reasons. I want to interrupt that on 2 things. There's only been one injury that suggests he's injury prone, and that's the hip.
Yeah, keep going.
The ankle injuries mean absolutely nothing to me in football and basketball. Or it's
Not
like
as
this.
quarterback.
Is that it's
Yeah,
like
not as
it
quarterback.
just like everybody injures their ankles in fucking sports. It's two different ankles. It's two different ankles. And in defense of Tua and maybe in attack of Alabama, not forcing, but encouraging that surgery to come back from these ankle injuries quicker. I don't think that. I think these are just happenstances of athletics. I don't think they mean you're injury prone.
Well, I mean, some players are hurt more than others. And by the way, listen,
but an ankle injury is like I mean that. We watch basketball players roll their
hip injury is very rare. Very rare.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. But I don't think calling him prone and linking it to the ankles is fair.
I agree.
Well, I mean, so listen, he has not been able to finish out a season without having an injury hampering him. You can say, oh, it's an ankle. You can say, oh, it's a hip, and that's rare.
It's the other ankle.
If Tua is healthy in this draft, dude, him and Joe Burrow are one.
Would you take him at 7? Would you take him at 7 if he's there?
The drafts I've seen him at, the mock drafts.
If he's there at 7, do you take him?
All have him at 7.
He doesn't. I agree with Brad. He doesn't.
I don't
think
he makes it there.
In
I don't
our
think he drops
situation
there.
right now.
Would
I'm
you
not
take
gonna
him?
draft.
Okay.
No.
Shut up.
If we needed a quarterback, then yes. But I mean, listen, if we had to have a quarterback, then sure, yeah, I would draft him. But
Okay.
I also like Justin.
You've
Herbert
also
as
told
a
me he's fucking better than sliced bread on this podcast. Take
He's
him at
very,
7.
Very good. Yeah, listen, my criticism of him is not the talent level. It's
Okay.
the injury history.
Real quick, I'm going to get into my prediction because it has to do with a lot of this. Just to let y'all know. And
We
I want
woke
everybody
Greg
to know.
up. Greg is awake as he's been
I want
ever been
everybody
on
to know
the
this is a crazy fucking prediction. Sorry. Crazy prediction.
He's woke.
And I have no basis on this whatsoever other than gut feeling. Okay? So I want you to know, and I don't want this to happen because I want to keep Cam. Carolina drafts Tua at 7. Okay?
Okay.
Then we trade Cam Newton. There is one team who has never beaten Cam Newton that has a quarterback.
The New England Patriots.
That
That's
has,
exactly it.
that has an offensive line that's deteriorating. That has a coach that Cam Newton gets traded to the New England Patriots for Stephon Gilmore, and we draft Tua Tagovailoa. That is my prediction.
No. This is why your plan doesn't work. Your plan doesn't work because Tua to the Panthers works with Cam playing in 2020.
No.
Cam plays in 2020 for the Panthers. Tua recuperates, and we either trade Tua or re-sign Cam.
No, then you're wasting a first-round pick.
Listen.
No, you're not wasting
a first-round
shit.
pick on Tua Tagovailoa. You're not wasting a first.
And what, Greg? Why are you wearing a Green Bay Packers beanie on this show? That's what I want to know.
I'm wearing a Batman.
Oh, okay.
Batman.
I was about to say, it looks like Green Bay Packers.
And I'm wearing my Ice Up shirt. I'm wearing my Ice Up shirt. So,
oh, did you guys see my shirt? Look at my shirt. My shirt is fucking dope as fuck.
Ice Up, son.
Can you see it?
Ice Up.
Can you see my shirt?
I could. Couldn't tell what it was.
Look at this shit.
I'd stand up, but I'm naked below the shirt.
Bottom down. Look.
All right.
I have the prediction of Cam Newton to the Patriots for Stephon Gilmore, or we draft Tua Tagovailoa. This is all based on drafting Tua, okay? And then we trade Cam Newton to the Jaguars for the number 9 pick.
I love when Southerners say Jaguars.
Jerry Jeudy. So we pick up Jerry Jeudy and Tua in the same
Who the
draft.
fuck is Jerry Jeudy?
Are you serious?
The best receiver is not the best receiver.
He's the next Julio
class.
He's
From Alabama.
Julio Jones, hands down, no doubt about it.
Is he in college or in the pros? I ain't never heard of this.
He's in college.
Yeah, he's the number one receiver.
So, Greg, in your situation, does Tua play next year?
If we
draft him, do we play him?
It depends. If we draft Tua and we trade Cam to New England, then we're going to take Brady as well, and we're going to have Brady train Tua for 1 year.
This is all right. I gotta cut this conversation off.
Hey,
this is not. This is like fucking crazy talk. Y'all are fucking more drunk than I am. Y'all have drank more beer than I am.
No, I made this prediction a long time ago before I was drunk.
So, you know why Tua is not going to be drafted by the Panthers? If he can't stay healthy with the Alabama offensives that they have, he is
a real pro offensive line.
That's a very fair point.
Yeah, he is not going to. That is not. Let's be honest. Will Grier got hurt after 2 games on that, and he didn't have the injury history.
Yeah.
Cam Newton has been able to maintain his health behind a very shaky offensive line for a long time.
I love Cam Newton, but he has not been able to maintain his health. He has been out for the last almost 3 damn years
until this last couple of years.
We got to keep going, guys. It's 11:45. We've got so much.
So,
there's so many more. People are still calling in, dude. You got to. Next call.
Hello.
Look, Carl D's coming in.
He's coming. How y'all doing?
And now me and him about to fight.
I'm calling today. And yes, this is going to be a little bit of rant. Matt Rhule, of all coaches, I am so disappointed in Tepper regime. Is not starting out right. You re-signed a guy like Shaq, who doesn't deserve the money he got. Now we go out and get an unproven coach. Yeah, he was with the Giants for 1 year, which happened to be a Super Bowl year, and then he left. Oh, he turned, and then I hear the excuses. Oh, he turned around Temple and Baylor from a suspension. That's harsh. That's hogwash. If you're gonna get somebody because they can turn around the program, hey, look at Bill O'Brien, the Texas head coach. He turned around Penn State from there. Allegations.
Been perennial playoff contenders every
year.
Yeah,
they're in the AFC.
What really has he done in the NFL besides Deshaun lucking up and getting Deshaun Watson? Not playing. 7
every
freaking years got some. Okay, if one of you got panel agrees with this hire, please explain and don't give no lame ass excuses. Lame ass reasons about, oh, he's good at turning around the program. No, that is not going to cut it. 7 years, $60 million.
But the 7 years means nothing.
Ridiculous.
And
the story is out there now.
Okay, you tell me if 7 years hasn't changed our lives.
He has the audacity,
saying it means nothing as far as his
humiliated gall.
He won't be here for 7 years if he's terrible. And $60 million is nothing to David Tepper.
Match his offer from Carolina. My God, man. What in the hell? And I don't care.
All right, I'm stopping the call here for this reason. I've been a little surprised tonight
and how many people did not like this.
Yes, I was expecting when I turned on the cat calls, everybody to be fucking pumped.
Hey, I'm right.
And it has been the opposite. It's been the opposite. CK, why are these cats so negative on this hire? Like, who do they want otherwise?
You know what?
Jason Garrett?
You know how many people didn't know who Matt Rhule was? And so that's why I think so many people already had their pick of who they wanted. They wanted to be enemy. They wanted. I don't think Jim Harbaugh was actually.
Well, none of us really wanted anybody so much crazy. That's my thing. Is there was no person out there that and I think Cody brought this up earlier in the show, is that while we kind of had interest in certain people. We were not like, oh, this is going to be the savior of the team for any one of these people.
People were wanting Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels already did the head coaching gig, and he failed miserably.
Right.
You
Backed out of Indy too. Fuck them.
And he shows a very maybe more loyalty to the Patriots than. And let's be honest, I don't think he's leaving them. I think he's staying there. I think he's staying there until Belichick goes so that he can be the head coach.
Well, yeah, now his only options are the Browns.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go to Cleveland either, dude.
Which he said was his dream job.
Oh, did he really? Well, shit, what do I know?
Yeah, but that's because he's from Cleveland. He's from Cleveland or Ohio or whatever.
But I think that there's just an issue with the stigma, I guess, as you say, from college coaches and the fact that he's not a part of these big championship schools that get 5-star recruits. You guys just what I think about when I sit here and wonder about people who question this. You guys don't understand. This guy turned around Baylor, who has that. If you read that article, they had 3-star recruits, and he was they were number 7 in the actual country this year.
And also coming off the largest scandal, maybe arguably in NCAA history, other than
Sandusky.
Sandusky. Yeah, exactly.
What conference do they play in?
Who, Baylor?
Yeah,
Big East.
Big 12.
Big 12. That's it.
The Big 12. Do you mean the no defense?
Is that the
Big
same
12?
the one that Lincoln Riley's in?
The no defense Big 12. So all you got to do is produce an offense, and you can win that division.
To his credit, they did have.
Like them
in the Big 12.
6.
I'm just saying
they had a better defense than offense.
Look, CK. Like I get what you're saying, and I think that I can kind of legitimize some of the things the fans here are saying.
It's been such a good show.
I think
Carl D does not like me, by the way.
No, he loves you, man. It's just a matter of the show. I think that but speaking from the fans' point where I'm coming from, and he hasn't proven anything. Like that's great. You're a great. You've done good in the Big 12. Once again, the Big 12 has no offense or no defense whatsoever. Period.
All right, how about this? Would you have been more excited today if we hired Josh McDaniels? And I thought I was at first, but it was kind of like this: it's the pretty girl you see at the bar, and she's just superficially pretty, but she ain't got no personality. She ain't got nothing. I think I was.
It's like a hot dog's mouth.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
The same thing. Same thing hiring.
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at Matt Rhule. No, I'm looking at Matt Rhule as the girl at the bar who's that natural pretty. She ain't got no makeup on.
And she has personality.
She got personality. And then
why? Because she's turned. But why? Hold on, let me ask you. Are you saying that because she's
you like the way I work around? No diggity.
Because she's turned around to
her fingernails.
Hold on. Are you saying that because she's turned around to do college franchises, or are you saying that because she's coached the offense to 3 different Super Bowls? Like, what you saying that about?
Oh, Josh McDaniels didn't coach
one guy's coached
offense.
3 different Super Bowls with victories, and one guy has coached.
Belichick.
You're right. So Josh McDaniels has made porno. And Matt,
so his point is better.
I got you. All right, no, that's a fair point. Fair point. We do need to move on with the calls because we still have a 16-minute interview.
Well,
damn.
Josh, why you gotta call back again?
Because I really want to get this
who is this?
Clear because
this is Joey Escobar, I believe.
An asshole, and it becomes painstaking to edit all that shit. But what I wanted to say off of Greg's point about being skeptical because he doesn't know a lot about Matt Rhule. Okay, I don't either.
This is Joey. I love Joey Escobar.
Dumpster fire franchises around, or college programs, whatever you call those things. I mean, what can you ask for other than improvement at this point?
Because
I agree.
I remember vividly being at Panthers on Mint, and it was so hot. I was sweating my ass off. Like, the people that normally sold beer were selling water because beer wasn't selling that day. That's how hot it was.
Was that a Panthers
and I
game?
remember
Goddamn, I
so
know that.
optimistic about this season, and then
Oh,
having
September.
this season go the way it did. I just don't see any reason to be down
Agreed.
on the hiring of Matt
Great
Rhule.
call.
I just don't.
Great call.
Let
Fantastic
him
call.
show us what he's got. And if he ain't got nothing, well, he ain't got nothing. But, you know.
Let's go to the next call just to speed things up, but that's fantastic. Thank you, Joey.
From Raleigh.
Hold on, I didn't
wanna
catch your
say-
name. One more time.
It's Darius from Raleigh.
Darius.
First off, I want to say I like the hire for the simple fact, scared money don't make money.
Amen, brother.
We gotta look at
Can't go to Vegas scared. That's why I always lose.
Understand the game
Very fair point.
from all different angles. What is the most successful coach in the NFL to date? Bill Belichick. And why is that? He understands all aspects of the game.
And
as soon as
Tom
people
Brady.
that say they don't like the hire, the first thing that they say is, I don't really know too much about the guy.
Yep.
Okay then. So everything you're saying is kind of redundant. You don't know too much about him. A lot of people aren't doing their homework on this guy. You know,
I agree.
When you look at
Great
players
call.
that are really dominant on the field, what position did they all play in high school? Quarterback. They understand all aspects of the game when you play that position. And that's how I consider it with Matt Rhule.
Bring this full
You gotta-
circle, man.
you gotta-
This is
How does
Cody's
that
point
apply?
earlier.
NFL. Kraft took a chance on Belichick, changed the whole culture of that franchise. The Patriots were not a winning team before that man got there. And look at what he
Actually,
did
they
with the
were,
Browns.
but
And then you look at what's going on in Seattle. Look at what Pete Carroll is doing. And Pete Carroll got ran out of the NFL too. And they thought he wasn't made for the NFL. Playing it safe in the NFL does not work. It does not win you Super Bowls. Look at the Redskins hiring Ron Rivera. That was a safe move. That'll never get them a Super Bowl. You got to take chances in the NFL.
That's
You got
right.
it.
Great call, man. I
All
think
right.
that
You know
excellent
what?
call.
Yeah, fantastic
That was a
call.
That was a great call, but I have to disagree with him in some aspects. New England was a playoff contender before before Drew Bledsoe went down and Tom Brady took over, and they became the franchise they are. So they were on the up and up.
Come on.
They were on the up and up.
No.
And Tom Brady came in. Yes, they were. Sorry, stats don't lie and records don't lie. That they were a Super Bowl contender before Tom Brady became
So
in.
the Cowboys
Yeah,
were yeah, look, as Tom Brady didn't immediately change them,
Of
but
course he did.
has
He passed
been
for
a,
like 140 yards in the first Super Bowl.
but he's been a
The team was not built for him.
constant, a 20-year constant that he's like a parabola of quarterbacks.
He's very good.
You know what I'm saying? Like at the
he's
bottom,
yeah.
he was a game manager in those years. When he beat the Carolina Panthers in the Super Bowl, he was still a game manager.
And
They
the
marched
team that
down
was
the
built before
field.
him. Yeah.
They marched down the field on us with less than 2 minutes or a minute and a half, and they were able. Look, John Casey kicks it out of bounds. He kicks it out of bounds. They get the ball on the 40. He had to move the ball 40 yards for them to win
he had
that
to move the
game.
ball 20 yards. 20 yards.
But what business
Get the ball
do
on
we
the
have
40, that
even
gives him a 20.
comparing ourselves to the Patriots anyway? Like
agree.
all these comparisons.
Let's
like,
do that.
they-
Let's do
they're
that. How
really
about
not
that?
even good
Let's
to
do that. If we be like, if Matt Rhule turns us out to be close to the Patriots, let's do that. All right, last
for
fucking
sure.
call. Last call, and then we have a whole big interview. And it's important. It's a good interview.
All right. You know what? Since D-Baby wants to be a little bitch now.
Oh, I love this.
I was going to walk away, but I got to hear this.
And I'm blind. And I'm about to smoke. Because I'm about to smoke that is the fire that is going to be
this team, led by Matt Rhule,
Woo!
let's say about 3
Smoke that
years.
fire.
Joey.
Time
This is
to,
Joey Esquivel. I
get
know it
rolling
is.
here. But guess what, G baby? You got a problem with Matt Rhule being hired, bro? I'm gonna pull a
He's icing him
Danielle,
up.
I don't know how the fuck you say her last name.
He is.
Catch me outside,
Exactly.
motherfucker. Smoke, G. You ain't about shit.
Oh, I love it, man. He found his flip flop. He found his flip flop and said, "Cash me outside." Love it.
Dude,
I love it.
We're starting fucking turf wars and the cat calls and shit.
It's the best. What a
Speaking
great
of
show.
that fire, I'll
tonight.
be right back.
Me too. Well, here. Are you guys ready for anything before we get into this interview, guys? You good?
How about we do this? Well, I mean, I don't even know if it's possible. You want to do all the stuff that would normally end the show on first, and then just play the interview to lead us out?
What do we have with ice up? Well, we don't even. You want to ice somebody up?
I mean, yeah, because the interview, it's already recorded, right? Like, our interaction with it is, like, done.
Well,
I mean,
we
I don't
want to
know. I
hear
don't
what
know if
you
that
think
works.
about it. Let's hear what you think about it.
Okay,
Come on.
all right, yeah. Well,
Where you
yeah,
gonna go?
let's-
You gonna go to bed? Come on. All right.
No,
Here's
man.
the last. It's the last leg. It's the last leg of the show. And look, Kyle Bailey, WFNZ, came on the show. And look, this is what shows you this is that we got the. I was messaging people all day long trying to get interviews, like all day, all over the place, from Daniel Jeremiah to this and that. I've got clips we didn't even play tonight.
Dude, if you got Daniel Jeremiah, that would have been insane.
Nah, I have a clip for him we didn't even play tonight with
Matt Rhule.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean,
Lucky Brooks.
I don't even know how TV shows go through as fast as what we do. I think the C3 podcast is fucking plowing new ground. But I'm telling you this, is that, look, we've got this big interview.
Is that her name?
Yeah. We have this big interview, right? And look, it's at the end of the fucking show. What does that tell you about our show? Our show is dope as fuck. That's what I say. That's what I say.
Indeed.
I think you should still blast this out, like, or maybe even put this at the beginning if you put this on Stitcher and stuff.
I will.
Like,
I will. I'll cut it up. I'll make it be like, hey, he's our number one person. Here it is. Kyle Bailey. You know what? If Kyle Bailey listens to 3 hours to this show to hear his own voice speak, then you know what?
Love that.
This show is dope as fuck. Like I said. All right, here it goes. Listen up, folks. Kyle Bailey, WFNZ, talking about Matt Rhule. I'd like to welcome in Kyle Bailey from WFNZ. I didn't know I had to from 2 to 6 on WFNZ, the Clubhouse. Kyle Bailey, thank you for joining the C3 Panthers podcast.
Yeah, man, appreciate y'all having me.
You know how before we get into the show, I do want to just compliment you on your show and what WFNZ is doing. I saw Nick Wilson outside of the doghouse before game a couple weeks ago, and I just wanted to express that we really appreciate the originality and the thoughtfulness of the content that WFNZ is doing right now, and I think you're a big part of that.
Man, I appreciate you saying that. That means a lot. It's at the end of the day, we're all trying to do work that appeals to the biggest audience possible, and if we're doing that or doing something close to a good job, then we're doing what we set out to do. So I appreciate you saying that. I really enjoy the work, and I'm glad some people out there are enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't tell us those types of things enough, particularly in the internet age. So I always like to kind of start off with something like that. And I'd also like to ask, how was the day today at the office?
The day today in the office was pretty wild. It was, kind of like the day that Ron Rivera was let go, in a sense. Now, I knew ahead of time this go round. I was on the air about an hour into the show back on December 3rd when Ron Rivera was fired. So we had to adapt on air on the fly. Today, I at least woke up and got some word of it at about 10 o'clock this morning. So, yeah, no, everybody was flying around, and as is typical of days like today, we had all the local television sports teams in doing, taking their shots and doing their interviews in our building. So, yeah, it was one of those days. It's historic.
I don't know why. I guess it's because the Panthers hired a new coach, and that's Matt Rhule. And I brought you on the show tonight to talk about it because I would say that you've been trumpeting his name for a couple of weeks now at the very minimum that I've heard, and I'm sure it goes back further than that. Tell us why you liked Matt Rhule before you even heard the news today.
Yeah, I mean, I liked a couple of these guys. And Matt Rhule was my 1A, and Eric Bieniemy was 1B. And they weren't the only two that I liked, but those were the two that I certainly liked the most. I just, the more I've paid attention to Matt Rhule over the past couple of years, the more I've been impressed. And certainly when he took the Baylor job, that was an eyebrow raiser, because you got a guy from the Northeast who had won at Temple, and in Philadelphia. It was kind of in what seemed like his geographical fit and home, not only taking a job in Texas where he had no ties, but taking it as the first head coach after one of the ugliest NCAA scandals in the history of that organization. So, he was very, very interesting to me at that point, because if you'll recall, he turned down Oregon, and I think at one point he was talking to Missouri and Virginia Tech in that same cycle. So anyway, I say all of that to say, he won, and he turned things around quickly there, too, in what was a toxic situation. So I think it became pretty clear that he's a really good football coach. Now, I know you're probably going to get to, and I'll let you do that, but concerns over college to the NFL, those sorts of things are completely valid. But, not only does he clearly look like a great football coach at his core, he also seems like a guy who was always aiming for the NFL anyway.
Why do you think the Panthers fell in love with him so quickly? I mean, you hear about them interviewing Mike McCarthy twice last week, and, it seemed like Tepper was very deliberate in these interviews, and he flew down to Waco, I believe, to spend time with Matt Rhule and his family. They went to him, and it wasn't by phone. It was a very personal thing. And then Tepper, if you've seen the video, I'm sure you have, seemed very excited that he agreed to the proposition. Why do you believe that the Carolina Panthers wanted this guy? Because it really does feel like a very intentional move.
It does, and it does fly in the face of some of the things that David Tepper said a couple of weeks back after firing Ron. Was he had some skepticism, sounded like a lot of skepticism about the ability of a college coach to transition into the NFL, and so those comments seem to rule out, no pun intended, a whole lot of people. And, I thought that it probably would eliminate Matt Rhule from, this job, because, even though I thought, most people thought he was bound for the NFL at some point, he hadn't been an NFL head coach or coordinator yet, so it seemed like David Tepper was talking about that kind of guy. I think the fact that they made that personal visit, the fact that they rolled out the red carpet, so to speak, and went the extra mile to get this done, I think that made a really big impression. And going back to the Baylor thing, right? Taking that Baylor job was the thing that nobody really expected him to do. It was such a shocking, stunning thing, because it didn't.
Well, he's a preacher. He's a preacher's kid taking over a program that is marred in sexual scandal. It's like just a total juxtaposition.
And that's the point. So
yeah,
the expected thing was that he would take the best job. Baylor was he wasn't going to do the Baylor thing. So and then now here he's going to take the Giants job. That's what I thought. That was the expectation of a lot of people. But no, he's picking the Panthers for a lot of valid reasons. But this isn't the first time that he surprised people.
I tell you one thing is, all right, so let's talk quickly about those concerns. You hear Peter King all over the national media talking, and they've been very complimentary of the Matt Rhule hiring, by the way, the national pundits. But you do hear in the last, or this century, he likes to say, which is the past 20 years, only 2 college coaches have had any success if you exclude Pete Carroll and who is the former Giants coach and GM of Jaguars. You had him on the show today, Tom Coughlin. And he said exclude those guys because they're really NFL guys who went to college and came back. That college guys haven't had a ton of success transitioning to the NFL. What were you hearing from callers or some of the players you talked to about those concerns today?
Yeah, I mean, we had Roman Harper in studio today, and Roman, obviously, you know him, and everybody out there, they know Roman at this point. His position was, hey, you know, I'm not stoked about it. I'm not, you know, critical of it. He wants to see if Matt Rhule can establish himself as a leader of grown men and professionals in a pro locker room. It is very different, and I think some of the doubts about this are completely valid. I do. I like the hire. I've had a gut feeling about Matt Rhule for a while, and I think a lot of what he's done recently validates that. But I think he's an NFL guy, and I don't think he's going to have much trouble relating to and motivating men in that locker room because, as you said a moment ago, he is a preacher's son. He clearly knows how to communicate and inspire and tell people things that they need to hear or want to hear or should hear, however you want to phrase it. So, you know, I'm very confident he can do that. But Roman and everybody else who's being pragmatic about it, they're completely reasonable. He's got to prove it. But, man, if he does that, and not only having won quite a bit and turned around a couple of places now, but having coached so many different positions on both sides of the ball, he's a well-rounded guy, and I've got a good feeling about this one, but time's going to tell.
Before I tell you my position on it, I want to tell you this, and this is a little fodder for the show tomorrow. And if you haven't seen it, you've got to, when we hang up, go and watch Matt Rhule's speech at this Baptist church. It is a Man Up conference, and he's talking about his personal life and what it means to be a man. And I tell you this, if you don't want to run through a wall for that guy after watching that for 19 minutes, I tell you, I have no doubt that his message will resonate with professional grown men. I think that, and if you watch it, I think you'll agree with me. But here's my position when it comes to Matt Rhule or the college transition, is that there is a risk that comes with a guy that's coming from programs that are developed by recruiting, by staying on top of guys, going to class and different things like that to come into the pros. Yes, there's certainly a transition, but when you factor in names like Eric Bieniemy or Steven, what's his name? Stefanski? Stefanski. Yeah. Is that guys who lack any head coaching experience, who have only been assistants or coordinators at best, they have some limitations too. And there's a gamble that you take on those guys. So I do believe the gamble's there. I just don't think that it is dramatic. I think it's equally heavy when it comes to hiring an assistant. And that's where I want to kind of, pivot to, is why is it that maybe some of these other guys weren't appealing? It looks like they didn't even take time to meet with Josh McDaniels. He was scheduled today. Fuel is tomorrow. It was supposed to be tomorrow. I don't know how that's going to go. But why is it that they're maybe not about Matt Rhule, but what about those other guys that potentially push them to Matt Rhule?
Yeah, look, I said earlier that I liked Eric Bieniemy, but there are some valid concerns about him too. Like, he's got the playing background, and guys will respect the fact that he's been in the league. And of course, in '91, Marty Herney was an assistant GM with the Chargers, and they drafted Eric Bieniemy in the second round, I believe. So, there were a lot of things. He gets great references. It comes from a great head coaching tree, and the fact that he is putting together those game plans offensively each and every week it's great. But he's not calling the plays, and he's never been a head coach. Right? Matt Rhule, you can try to, or you can underscore all you want how difficult it's been for a lot of guys to jump from college to the pros, but there is a lot to be said for running your own organization, being the CEO, understanding the dynamics of everybody in that organization looking to you for leadership and direction, and the buck stopping with you. Like that is really invaluable in the minds of a lot of people, and I suspect in David Tepper's in this way too. So I think Eric Bieniemy's got a great chance to be a really, really good head coach. I think you can make a great case for Kevin Stefanski, Gary Kubiak mentoring him, and we could go on down the line. These guys, I think, all will be fine, but man, I just think that executive experience might mean a lot to David Tepper, and I'm curious to see if he communicates that tomorrow at the press conference.
I'm sure you've seen this in your own personal career, but a lot of times when you start in a career, and you're not in a kind of management role, is that you tend to try to do everything yourself. And there is a certain kind of soft skill that comes to being a manager and being able to delegate, motivate, hold people accountable without just working yourself into the ground. And that's where I think that experience comes in. At the end of the day, what did Steve Smith have to say about it today?
Man, a lot. I can't really summarize all of that into a reasonably linked
positive or negative.
But no, I mean good. Like I actually was building in sort of the caveat that as I was asking in the first question, and I should have known better because it's Smitty, but I kind of built in the caveat of, thinking maybe you might not love the idea of a college guy, but he actually kind of stopped me at the beginning and said maybe my preconception was wrong, and that he obviously laid out the reasons why a lot of college guys will fail in these situations. But he did say he liked the hire. So, it did get the Smitty seal of approval.
Here's my advice to dealing with Smitty is whatever you expect he wants you to say the opposite. Because it feels like
I learned that a long time ago.
You can't win sometimes, no matter if you're trying to play hardball, softball. So, all right, we got just one last
one. You
got
to be willing to play, that's all.
That's right. All right. So your thoughts though about his ability. Where are the Panthers at? You mentioned that he didn't go to New York and he chose us. And I think Tepper pulled the trigger and I think he pulled it hard. But I do think there's got to be something to the fact that Dave Gettleman calls analytics guys computer guys, right? And this is a guy who is very intensely interested on finding an edge at any type of analytical component. What do you think attracts him to Carolina, or attracted him to Carolina?
Probably, a lot of things, and I think we heard a lot of that on that interview from Central Texas earlier this afternoon. We're going to hear more tomorrow, and we're hoping that if things work out tomorrow, that I'll be able to sit down with Matt for a bit tomorrow afternoon as well, and probably learn a lot more then. But I think it's the sum total of David Tepper's resources, his commitment, his plans, what he's already accomplished, the MLS coming here, and the fact that, as you said a minute ago, there is that emphasis on analytics and finding the edge and winning a Super Bowl. I think that he sees a guy who is not only the richest man in the league, but is hungry to win, and here's hoping that those two can find a way to figure that out, because a lot of very wealthy men have been desperate to win, and it hasn't always worked out. But it comes down to decision making, and I do think that between David Tepper and Matt Rhule and whoever ends up being this football czar, and even Marty Herney has his strengths, I think you have some good people pulling strings, and things could head in the right direction if the good decisions continue to be made.
7 years, $62 million. Some people kind of say that it's like overpaying or whatever it may be. This doesn't smell to me of a poor investment. Instead, this sounds as an intentional investment. Do you think that figure? How did you react when you saw those kind of numbers? I know the callers today, I was listening, they were saying, "Good Lord, we're just throwing the money." It doesn't sound like a rich guy being desperate, though, to me.
No, not at all. First of all, again, this guy's worth $12 billion. You can't forget that, because that matters a lot. And the reason it matters is not just because he has unlimited resources, it seems, to throw at this team, but spending that kind of money and making that kind of commitment to your head coach sends a message around the league that this is the guy you want to work for, because he will pay for talent. This is the guy you want to work for because he's serious about winning a championship, and sparing no resource, and whatever he has to do, buy, build, develop, whatever it is, he'll do it. And that's a magnet for talent in the NFL, and for people who also are like-minded and want to win. So there are multiple things that come out of this decision, this contract. And again, at the end of the day, people see 7 years, $60 million, 8.5 on average, when the reality is if in 3 years this is a disaster, he has more than enough money to, cut bait, pay him out, buy him out, and send him on his way and do it all over again. So, if he wants it bad enough, I'm not going to get too worked up about how somebody else spends their money.
Yeah, that type of money to him is not what it sounds like to us. And if you haven't heard of it, go Google the Revenge Mansion when it comes to David Tepper, and you'll hear about how much he can spend some money. But all right, Kyle, I know you're hanging out. You're off air. You had a busy day. You got to be back on the air tomorrow. Tell all the listeners of the C3 Panthers podcast how they can find you on Twitter and on the radio.
Absolutely, man. At Kyle Bailey, WFNZ, all three platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just making it simple. At Kyle Bailey, WFNZ. Check out WFNZ.com and download the radio.com app. It's a life changer. So appreciate you for having me.
Man, thank you so much for taking time, and hopefully we can catch up with you in the future. All right, that's Kyle Bailey from WFNZ. You can find them on the radio.com app, and that's how I listen to Charlotte radio. I'm in Greenville, North Carolina. And Kyle Bailey has been trumpeting the Matt Rhule hire. Guys, and just a couple of thoughts on that call, on that interview right there. Go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was very insightful. I feel like I kind of the reasons that he championed Matt Rhule are the reasons why I'm excited about the hire. I mean, you look at his pedigree. You look at, I mean, he even has a history with the state of Pennsylvania. I just think that there's no reason to not trust David Tepper. I think the upside outweighs the negatives. But, I mean, even he echoed, hey, he isn't going from college to the NFL. He has to prove it. I just think this is a good hire. And if you're going to bet on a college coach, why not have it be Matt Rhule?
Love it. Any other thoughts on that, guys?
Yes. Yeah. I want you guys to, if in 2-3 years from now we are a program franchise and we have really showed everybody what's going on with records and division titles, Super Bowls, whatever, rub it in my face. I really do. Rub it in my face, please. I will take it, no problem. I'll eat that crow. Right now, I want to see results.
Do you think it's not going to work?
When I see results,
do you think it's not going to work?
Then I will be happy.
Bat Daddy?
I don't know. I truly don't know.
So then why do we got to rub it in your face?
Well, because I would say that I was skeptical.
Okay.
Well, that's okay.
I was skeptical.
That's okay.
So,
you're right.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
I'd be more worried if you said this is going to be a failure and this is not going to work, and there's no reason for me to be optimistic about the future of this franchise. Then at that point, I'd be more worried. But the fact that you're saying skepticism, I don't know what to expect. There's nothing to throw back in your face, and I don't think anybody on the podcast is saying that we're going to bring him a Lombardi because of this, right? There's so much unknown with this.
Right.
I just think that out of the options that we had, this is probably the best move for what the organization is going to be doing moving forward. And that's where it is. Nobody's going to know whether it's a good move or a bad move until later on, until 2-3 years down the line when we've actually seen what the fruits of this
how many years
of this labor has actually.
How many years, CK, before you think that?
Honestly,
you said 2 or 3. I mean, I think it's 3 total. Most.
Yeah, three is 2. So here's the thing. I think we'll know a lot about season 1 is going to be a crapshoot regardless.
Right.
Even
could
if
be
it's
awesome,
a really good year,
could be terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of moving parts that we can't necessarily say that is his benefit. If we do really well, if we do really bad, we can't say it's because of him. Year 2, if we see progress, I think we'll actually see more of his identity in year 2. Oh goodness! All right,
good for you,
Greg. Greg over there getting him some
Caroline Can in the house.
Diabetes with that shit. Yeah, is that Caroline? But to the point, I will say this much. Cody, you said David Tepper deserves the benefit of the doubt because he hasn't really made any music until he brings C3 into the fold of the Panthers. He doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. You got to announce on this show.
Bring C3 in. Yes, I agree.
When we go damn near 3 hours and 30 minutes, we deserve to get paid.
Amen.
100%. 100%.
For the show.
All right. Well, that's it. All right, guys, we got to ice some motherfuckers up, I guess, and get the hell out of here. Cody, you got an ice up pick for us? I hope.
Do. Mine's super fast. I'm icing up the doctor. So this girl, she was bit by a dog, and she had to have a skin graft on her face, like on her cheek below her eye. And she's 9 years old. Well, for some reason, the cosmetic surgeon had the bright idea of taking hair or skin from her pubic region and putting it on her face. And now
now the
woman has grown older. She has a kid, and she has pubic hair growing on her fucking face,
God.
dude.
I don't want to comment on that.
Mean, dude, I
Holy
don't,
crap.
yeah, to the doctor, to the parents, to everyone that let this dumb shit happen. Ice up, son.
Ice up.
That's all I have to say.
All right. Anybody else got a good ice up pick?
I got a good one,
the
man.
best I've heard in a while.
I can't follow that one. It's hard, but
That's what she
I'm
said.
just gonna ice up the Tar Heels basketball program. I've been a diehard Tar Heels, Chapel Hill basketball fan my entire life. We are 8-6 right now, 1-2 in the conference. The worst team I have ever seen in my entire life. What the hell is going on? UNC, Roy Williams, ice up, man. Seriously, what the hell's going on?
Ice up.
Yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
CK, you got anything?
Yeah, and I'm hoping I'm not taking yours here, Tony, but I gotta bring it back to football, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but how sweet was it Sunday or Saturday? Sunday.
Get them.
Seeing the Saints lose in dramatic fashion. Did I not say that when we were making our pick?
You called
this.
it. You called it all.
Exactly the way that they did. Like I wanted it so bad. I loved that game because it was a couple of parts to it. Kirk Cousins didn't win the game, right? It wasn't Kirk Cousins. He didn't lose the game.
Though.
He didn't win the game. What won the game was that defense made Drew Brees look like a little girl.
I agree.
He held Michael Thomas to a very mediocre game. There were some good plays, don't get me wrong, but you do not see those types of mistakes. Drew was holding on to the ball way too long, and they were getting into the backfield very well. So what I'm going to say is to all those Saints fans and Sean Payton, which, by the way, is the biggest D-bag of them all, ice up Saints.
Ice up Saints.
Ice up.
I'm icing up the Giants and Dave Gettleman for hiring whoever, Matt Judge or whoever this guy is that they hired, and then trying to act like they didn't get their guy in Matt Rhule. Come on, guys. Even if Matt, what's his name? I feel like it's Matt Judge.
I don't even know.
Joe Judge. Matt Judge.
Sounds like a television show.
Joe Judge. Whoever this motherfucker is. It's like, that's fine that you want to hire him, but at least interview the other candidates before you do hire him. This seemed really weird. Dave Gettleman, I used to think you were brilliant. I am hesitant to think you're an idiot, but right now I think you're old. I don't know what to think right now.
Moron.
Yeah. Moron. But here, that's my ice up pick to the Giants, and hiring the person without even interviewing them almost seems like it's like, all right. But anyway, that's my ice up pick.
It felt very hasty.
It's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We're here every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Look at this. Fucking, how many hours is this? 4 and a half.
A lot of hours.
A lot of hours. In a world where we all are sleep deprivation. All right, we're going to bed, folks. You guys, thank you. 252-228-5098 is Cat Calls Line. It's the C3 Panthers podcast. Subscribe. Smash the thumbs up button. Cody Lashney, tell them how they can follow you on Twitter.
At Cody Lack, CODYLAC. There is a brand new mock draft on Draft Tech every single week now. So come learn about these prospects that the Panthers are going to draft. And that's it, man.
Greg, how can they follow you?
I'll be quick, man. You can find me at the Bat Daddy 52 on Twitter. I also run the podcast, the
Super Civil Servants
podcast. Yes, and as a matter of fact, Cody Lashney was a guest on my podcast last week, dropped on Monday. We talked about The Watchmen, one of my favorite shows we've done so far. So check me out every week on Fridays. We record every Monday we drop. If you're into pop culture, movies, comic books, television shows, anything like that, hit me up.
Had a great time too.
And rub-a-dub-dub.
And
CK.
Yeah, that's right.
Rub-a-dub-dub CK. Tell us how they can rub-a-dub-dub you on Twitter.
In the world of Twitter, you can find me at GoDizzleAllen.
Hit us with a little beatbox. Hit us with a little beatbox on the way out. It's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. My name's Tony Dunn. We'll see you next Tuesday night.
Keep pounding.
9 p.m. until your ears bleed. 3.5, 4 hours later. Good night, folks. We can get the fuck out of here. It's over.
Peace.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You can turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.